Oh boy. Wow. What a bunch of jokers. Let's put the light on here. Turn that off in the background. Good evening. Sorry about that. I had to shift my lighting a little bit. Yeah, if anybody caught that live, that was something, huh? Yeah, that was pretty bad. And I did a video about this, I guess, I don't know, about 4 or 5 days ago. And it was just like how disappointing it is when you try to talk to people who are pro-Israel and they're just, I don't know what drives this behavior. Obviously, you can't speak for everybody who's pro-Israel for this, but those that are on TikTok, I found them to be, I mean, listen, they let me talk a little bit this time without, I was just really trying to be calm and keep them from getting overboard. But once you don't say what they want you to say, they start making demands that you say what they want you to say, or they write you off as being some paid shill or whatever. I got called all sorts of names. I got called an anti-Semite. I got called a pro-Palestinian paid person. My military service got denigrated, saying that because I didn't rise to a certain rank, I couldn't possibly know anything. Because I didn't have the exact number of Palestinians in the West Bank that have been shot and injured or unalive by Israeli snipers, then my point was completely invalid. Stuff like that. I mean, just absurdity, right? So I just wanted to go live and listen. I would hopefully allow those people to come here on the panel and treat them with respect. Let them talk, even if I disagree. That's okay. I'm not going to demand that they see my things my way. I don't expect them to, right? But there's a way to go about having an adult conversation. And then there's what happened tonight. I should have screen recorded it. That would have been smart. But it was pretty much over the top, I thought. So anyway, yeah, we have Shooms who was there, and then we'll bring up Ifron as well. It was a circus, huh?
Yeah, yo, that was fun. I just want you to know, man, when they treat you like that, right, they're just hurting their cause even more, man. Don't pay attention to that. Just you,
I agree.
just you going on there and getting treated like that speaks volumes about them.
Yeah, I got to a point where it was a little too much. I thought it was really inappropriate for me to stay around anymore. They were getting just to be absolutely out of control. So I knew at that point. And by the way, the other thing is that guy Joe, he's pretty vile, man. I mean, he's got angry. He made all these allegations about what my motivations are, and I must be getting paid, and that I wouldn't answer him. He didn't even give me a chance to answer. He was telling me that I wouldn't do this or I wouldn't do that, and I just, those types of folks that don't give you the benefit of the doubt and just want to give you a chance to communicate. What's the point, right? So I like a good hearty. Listen, it's fun to have a good back and forth. I think it's good. It challenges your beliefs. There were some things raised during the conversation that I think are worthy of exploration. I'm going to look into it, but I think that demand somebody acquiesce to your point of view before you can continue on is a little bit silly, right? It's kind of third grade. What do you think about that?
Yeah, no, it's childish, man. I always say things like that. Some even pro-Palestinians, man, they remind me of high school drama, and it's like ridiculous. We're talking about people's livelihoods, we're talking about real things that are affecting our day-to-day lives in terms of fear and economy. So,
Yeah.
I just, man, it's childish to go on there and expect to actually get them to change their opinion. But I think that, the hundreds of viewers that were watching, anybody who had common sense and was listening to you could have easily been persuaded, to stop promoting certain things that the IDF and Israel do. And I don't even expect people to be like anti-Israel against your own country, but wake up, see the truth for what it is, and criticize it.
Well, what I try to do again, especially in places where there's a lot of potential, a lot of emotional responses, I really try to couch my words and say things like allegedly, or there's some difference of interpretation, not make definitive statements because actually I don't have certainty on a lot of things, especially some of the numbers. Maybe other people do, but I don't. So I don't want to make definitive statements. But this is what we've heard in public, right? We've heard things said. I talked about both sides, what I'd heard from both sides. I talked about the numbers that the health ministry has put out as far as the fatalities and injuries. And I talked about the Israeli take on it. I tried to be fair and balanced and say, I'm not really sure. And still you get condemned for being one-sided. So I'm really not biased. I even made the statement during the live. I say this often. If there was an imposition of an Arab state by a third party mandated country like Britain, and the subsequent things that happened to a displaced Jewish population, I'd have the same exact criticisms. I would just be critical of the Arab government for what they're doing, especially with this disproportionate response. If there was a rogue element of the Jewish population who attacked the Arab people unexpectedly on one day and unalived a lot, considered the history, and the Arab government wanted to basically retaliate and what seems like revenge and indiscriminate harming of Jewish people, I would be critical of that equally. It's no different. It's not about who the parties are. It's about the power dynamics and it's about the behavior. And I'm against people being exploited and subjugated, blockaded, and occupied.
That's the part that aggravates them, man. You have no double standard, and you say it and you make it clear when you're talking about age group or any specific civilians that were unalived, and it's asinine to keep trying to paint you as something you're clearly using your voice to not be, right? They're just trying to take away from it because you're actually, making a difference, bro. And somebody told me this, I don't remember where I heard it, right? But their problem is that anybody that's not Jewish, right? In their eyes is either two types of people, either anti-Semitic or potentially anti-Semitic.
Yeah, and listen, I can understand the anger that's associated with what happened on the 7th. In fact, if you didn't hear me say it in the live, I hope they heard me say it. I'm against the fact that people were not only taken hostage, but also the fact that people were harmed and unalived. I even mentioned the dog, which I felt that was the very first video I saw, by the way. I saw some militants coming into a kibbutz, it appeared to be, and they powed at a black Labrador retriever, which had nothing to do with anything. They just, I had to turn the video off. When I see stuff like that, it just hits me. I mean, not that I don't care about people, but when I see an innocent animal being, that's just ridiculous, right? And that I condemn that totally, especially for that. So that's disgusting. But everything's got to be within context. And no, I'm not for what happened to whatever extent it did, but there are a lot of legitimate questions. And they say if you question it, you're like a Holocaust denier. But it is unclear at this point, based on some of the initial reports of what happened on the 7th versus things that have come out over time. And I think there's legitimate questions to be asked about how many people were unalived by militants, in what manner, when and how, and what happened with the response, and who might have been harmed in that response, and what are the total numbers therein. I don't know, and I don't think anybody's told me the final number. I've looked for it hard, and I've also not seen much evidence to substantiate a lot of the more horrific claims. I did a video about that yesterday, and it got immediately taken down, like within 30 seconds. So, and then I appealed it and it came back up. So it's just being mass reported. People are just mass reporting certain videos. I'm obviously become someone of focus because people now are aware of who I am. I'm not looking for notoriety. And a lot of these people think I'm a totally bad guy because I'm critical of the behavior of the military and of the government, especially the hard right one that's in power right now. But even historically, I've been critical of Israel. Go back to my Twitter feed a couple of years ago. There was no October 7th. This is just the ongoing crimes of the Israelis that I've learned about through people like Abby Martin and other journalists. And, I think it's despicable. Under the best of circumstances, what Israel does is despicable. I don't like that behavior. Do I hate Jewish people? Absolutely not. I could give a shit. Like I said, it could be Ethiopians on the one state. It could be Eritreans on the other. If the Ethiopians were exploiting the Eritreans, I would just say I support the Eritrean resistance, right? That's simple stuff. But for some reason, when the ethnicity Jewish gets involved, somehow everything goes haywire. So I left. Somebody's asking me a question real quick. They said, "Did you leave or were you kicked?" They didn't kick me off, to their credit, but because of how insulting they were being, how rude they were being, and how they were demanding that I answer a question they wanted me to, or we couldn't go on. At that time, it was time for me to cut bait because it just was. It was for me to stay. It would have been.
I just want to apologize. I just want to apologize to Good. I'm sorry for cutting you, bro. Yeah, I want to apologize for you were gonna leave before I asked you that question, and then I kind of led you to a controversial point. So I do want to apologize for that. That wasn't my intention.
That's okay. No worries. Listen, I did the best I could under the circumstances, and everybody else tried to say stop being disrespectful. This guy Joe, for whatever reason, New York City Joe, got upset. He got emotional, as did some of the other panelists. And I understand their anger. I do, and it's in a way, a lot of the things that people believe on the Israeli side is understandable because that's been the message that's been put into them forever. And so it's not unexpected, but there's no need to, you can make your point and emphasize what you believe without being absolutely mean spirited and talk down to somebody, criticize them, ridicule them, name call them. It's just, it's third grade level stuff. And if that's what you need to make your point can't be that good in the first place, in my opinion. Someone named Doc wanted to come up, but I don't see you in the queue. Doc, you said bring me up in all caps, but
Yeah, that's
you have to click on the guest button just so you know, and then I can bring you up if you click on the guest
that's
button.
that's definitely a troll. But yo, good man. I saw what happened to you too, bro. It's bull. They can't let anybody finish their statement.
It's unfortunate, but it's okay because it's an example. This is the good thing. It's an example of how you can go into a hostile environment, keep your cool, try to do the best you can to work within it, and then when it gets a little too untenable, you simply just let yourself to the exit. I tried to say thank you for having me, but it probably got talked over. But I have people in the comments sometimes say some really horrible things, and all I do is I say, "Hey, I know on a better day, you got to be much better than this," and stuff like that. I don't respond negatively because that doesn't help, right? Okay, so let's do this. We have some people in the queue. Wow, we have a lot of people in the queue. We got 8 guest requests. Holy smokes. All right, well, let me do this. Let me bring up a couple more people. We'll put them on the panel. We'll try to work through it quickly. Do a lot of this, right? I've been doing a
Yeah,
lot of
just
lives.
just rotate me out whenever you want, bro. I can get out of here first.
Okay, well, let's do this. Come on back in. We're gonna listen. Do you want to make a comment other than talking about the previous live that you want to share with the group?
No, I'm all right. I'm all right. I just wanted to talk to you. Thank you for the convo, man. Thank you.
Of course. Yeah, thanks for the nice words. I appreciate the encouragement. Yeah, it's funny because in the comments it was 50-50. It was people calling me an anti-Semite and making all these other name calls about my family and whatever. And the other half was, we appreciate you. Thanks for keeping your cool, that kind of stuff. So it was an interesting mix. But like I said, everyone's going to pick sides. There have been some people that have come into my lives that are pro-Israel, and people say some pretty crummy things, and that's not my style. But unless somebody says something really over the top, I don't usually ban them or silence them. Anyway, okay, we have Alejandro's here. Wow, Alejandro. Okay, let's let the next person talk here. We have Ifran. How you doing, Ifran?
Hi, Chip. Thanks for having me. Good evening. Just going off what you were saying last time, to the last panelist, and to attest and agree with you. You have been careful to use inflammatory language, and have diverted that. And to give an example, when we were talking about the tension in the Red Sea, um, it seems to be kind of a disagreement between the news outlets, but are they rebels? Are they Houthi rebels? Are they Yemen army? But you made sure to emphasize the rebel part, and thank you for that. I think we need to be mindful about that part. So the reason why I came up, you probably saw the comments, and it's not even related to the geopolitics, but sorry, off note, but I noticed the gash on your head is a little bit more red and wider, and I just hope you've applied some Neosporin or.
Thanks, Doc. Yeah, it'll be okay. It's a small flesh wound. It's actually because I was wearing a hat today and rubbing on the hat because it was cold outside. So, but thank you for the concern. You wouldn't believe some of the injuries I've had. Pretty bad. This is one time I was playing basketball and somebody dropped me on the court and you can't see it because it's on my whole eye line gashed open, and I was just spurting blood everywhere. It was really bad. So this is welcome here.
I believe it, yeah, but it seems to be getting bigger and redder, and just for us, if you wouldn't mind putting something like some protective barrier, so there's no outside irritants or things getting in there, because it's a very sensitive place, and we want you to be
Okay.
well. Um,
Thank you for
of
this.
course, that was it, Chip. You have a good evening.
Okay, great.
All right.
You too as well. Thank you for the advice. I will take you up on that. I'll put some ointment on there before. It's amazing. I don't have my mom's not close by, so that's probably something being transmuted through somebody else. Thanks, mom or whomever. Okay, we have our next guest, which is Stephen Schulman. Stephen always has some interesting things to share. We got to keep it short though tonight because
I'm
we have
going to be
so many
very
guests.
short. Got one question for you, straight to the point, and it really, based on your military background, I have discussions on folks, and I see a lot of, anger towards IDF, and I do understand that that's the face of a lot of this, and
Mhm.
I recognize the precedent set by Nuremberg trials and all that, but I have a hard time um, being angered at soldiers. in any level, either side, and it's the leaders I get angry at. And I understand that there's you have to take a look at each individual case. People who get a thrill out of being sadistic, and on the other hand, people just in the situation. But I do hear a lot of people saying, really attacking that, and to my and I've said on these lives, it's not the IDF. I mean, the soldiers anyway. It's the leaders, maybe the top generals, and of course the political leaders. And am I mistaken in that? That's my question.
Yeah, I'm going to disagree with a good bit of that. And for this reason, there's been an ongoing practice for many decades, unfortunately, of soldiers, especially in the West Bank, given wide latitude to do all sorts of things that are not within the purview of military activity. So, for example, barging into homes at all hours of the night for no reason other than to terrorize the people that live there. There have been soldiers that have left the IDF that were working in the occupied territories who have said as much on video. So you can look that up if you need to. And then on top of that, they do all sorts of other things. If people are protesting, they have weaponry. The people that are protesting don't. They have stones. A lot of times, if a kid is carrying a Palestinian flag during a march for the right of return, they'll shoot tear gas, rubber bullets, live ammunition, a lot of times aiming at their knees or their groin to permanently damage or disfigure them, or sometimes they shoot at their cranium, unfortunately, which causes them to die. So it happens all the time. Now, somebody challenged me in an earlier live, what's the exact number? Like, what's the exact number? I don't have the exact number. I looked it up, and it's a big, big, big number. The injury numbers are drastically larger than, of course, the fatalities. But you also add in administrative detention. That has nothing to do with being a soldier. Why would soldiers go in and just snatch people up and take them off to jail? That's basically hostage taking in my book, especially if they've done nothing wrong. A lot of times, just by knowing somebody like a cousin, you'll get swept up into something and just taken back and just held. So they do all sorts of things that have nothing to do with typical military activity. And it's all based on trying to force people, in my opinion, it's all based on trying to force people to be so discouraged that they'll want to leave the land so they can further continue the build out of settlements and occupation, unfortunately. And I think it does it.
Sorry.
I think it does a disservice to the Israeli side of things in terms of projecting their image to the public, because I can understand security, having checkpoints at your border, trying to make sure people don't do things as far as hatching plots and stuff like that, which can be intelligence and police work. But the extent to which they do what they do is unnecessary at the least, and criminal and war crimes at the worst.
No, and I'm not going to argue that. And that was kind of the point I'm trying to make. I know that there are people, even at the lower level within that, who are who are doing these things that certainly should be culpable. But I always go towards the top, towards the head of it, and the people driving them towards it. And anyway, I asked the question and you answered it. But I hope you understand where I'm trying to go with this. I mean, it's not the actions, and I know that there are people within that who are getting pleasure out of this and are quite willing and zealot about it. So, it's like when I think about what went on in Germany, there were the black and the brown shirted people, and then there was also a mass of folks that had their heads to some level. And I think it's always the top. When even in business, hey, go to the top, go to the decision makers and such like. And I'm not trying to uh, in any way be inflammatory or say that there's no um, that there can be no dip. I'm sorry, I'm searching for a word that describes what I'm saying, but I'm going to sense that you kind of know where I'm going with that. And especially in the West Bank, because to me the West Bank really shows what's going on more than anything else, because it's such an agenda. It's so clear for me in the operations that go on there. Well, thank you very much for your time. Well,
Sure.
revisit someday, but I'll let you continue on tonight.
Yeah, and I think it's fair to point out that the leadership is culpable and in many cases directly involved in the permissibility of these things to occur. And if it could be as simple as just looking the other way, There are instances, by the way, and of course it depends on the chain of command. Not every commander in the IDF is the same as every other. And different responsibilities, different areas of responsibility might handle things differently within the military. There are examples of soldiers being held accountable for certain things. It does happen. I'm not denying that. I'm saying that in the preponderance of the evidence that I've looked at, that's not the case, unfortunately. And if they are held accountable, it's some very small slap on the wrist, like 10 days in jail or something like that, and maybe a demotion or something, or whatever it may be. Somebody here is screaming from the hilltops, why won't you let my people up? First of all, I don't know who your people are. And secondly, in order for someone to come up on the guest panel, you have to request to be a guest. I can't bring people's names out of the chat up onto the panel. So if you don't know how to do that, there's a little button on the left-hand side or left center that's blue and red, and it says guest request. Tap on that and then request to be invited. You'll go into a queue and I'll happily bring you up. If you follow me for any amount of time, I don't discriminate as to who I bring up. I'll bring up anybody and try to have a civil exchange, unlike the live that I was just on, right? And people who have watched me for a while, they know this. So I'm not discriminating against you, but you have to get in the queue for me to bring you up. Okay, next guest is Good. Please tell me something good.
Hey Chip, how you doing? Yeah, I'm gonna tell you a lot of good stuff. First of all, I'm gonna start off with thanking you. I'll tell you, look, as a person, I personally respect you a lot, just for the sense that I do see the honesty and the sincerity that you display on TikTok, and because the Palestinians and the pro-Palestinians see it, that's why you have a prominent voice. We don't discriminate who's actually the speaking voice for what's right and what's justice at the end of the day, and that's what pisses them off. That panel was set up in a way, with all honesty, to pretty much at the end of the day to disrespect you and have you hear demeaning terms, which not only you, there's a lot of other TikTokers, with influential accounts that get invited on that panel, just for the sole reason that they have followers, for the clout of that live to be prominent. Because if you notice, when you leave or any of these prominent accounts leave, the actual views on these lives drop dramatically. So the only reason people are actually invited there, just due to the fact that they have big accounts. And if you look at the people that actually go there, the main debaters always have big accounts. Not to mention all the good stuff that you've said to bring awareness to the plight of the Palestinian people, and what you see, at least someone who actually fully pledged not to be biased on this end and calling out what's wrong as wrong, is something that they actually are trying to silence. And if you see in the way they're actually talking to you, and pretty much talking to you in a derogatory manner, was very obvious. The questions that were been asked by Captain Jonathan was, solely for the main purpose to tell you, look, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. All he's doing is here for the gifts. He's here just to getting paid, just like other people that are considered to be on the pro-Palestinian side. That's not how we see it. This is not how the pro-Palestinians see it. We see you as a human who actually sees what we have been experiencing for 75 plus years and 100 plus years from what we consider colonizing, occupying powers. What you guys are seeing right now, this is something the Palestinians have been suffering and enduring for so long, and up until today there has been pretty much something, the Israelis themselves, a voice that they could not silence, and this is the Palestinian voice. I went up there to actually make a few points. I literally didn't want 10 minutes, but literally this guy Daniel, without his mod, every single time I start talking, he has to interrupt me. And when you interrupt someone, especially when I've been waiting for so long, I gave other people chance to speak, and I even gave them my turn. When it came to me, literally, guys, I'm not saying this because it's me, but I'm just saying it's been a repetitive pattern that every single time you have a pro-Palestinian, you get silenced immediately or shut down or interrupted. But if you're, a pro-Israel or a Zionist, you can go on and on and on and on for minutes, and bring up 100 points with no, debunking whatsoever. And as soon as you start speaking, you have to be basically silenced and shut up. I don't think these panels. I honestly don't think these panels are a good, fair way to present both views. They're just basically set up for one specific reason. is to shut big voices and to silence them. I personally am done with that panel. I'm not going there anymore. I'd rather spend time spreading knowledge and factual information on panels that are equal, like to what Chip is presenting, what other people that I know that could actually have a panel that you could have enough viewers to actually voice out an opinion without being silenced. So that's all I have to say, Chip. Thank you for everything that you do. I respect you as a human being. Keep doing what you're doing. Yes, we do need people like you. I think you are a big respected voice, and don't stop. And we're at the end of the day, we're all in on this together. And I really appreciate everything that you've said and done so far.
Appreciate it. Have a good rest of your night. Yeah, good to hear from you. Okay, yeah, it's an interesting experience being on TikTok. You get to learn a lot of different things. So sometimes it's great and sometimes it's not so great, but that's all okay, right? It's all part of the learning curve. I agree about not going back on the panel, which is a shame because I think initially they were all very pleased with the way I was on the panel, and then they kind of started going off and teeing off because they weren't happy with what I had to say, and that's understandable. It's just I have a different style, and I wish more people would do it more towards this, but it's his live. Like I said in the very beginning, it's your live. Do whatever the hell you want, right? That's fair. Okay. And by the way, if there's anybody else who wants to come up who is among the pro-Israel side, please do. You will be treated with respect.
Oh, sorry, Chip. I'm so sorry.
Alejandro.
Yeah, that's a very good, interesting point. You're talking about they're attacking you and calling you anti-Semitic and all that. It's gonna happen because look at your followers. See, they're looking at your page and they're feeling the heat. It's just common sense. They're feeling the heat and they want to bring you down, which is not going to happen because we're not going to let that happen. Psychologically, if you let them get to you, they're going to want to, because that's their game. Their game is psychological warfare. It's not going to happen, right? So I wouldn't worry about that.
No. I'm not. Listen, that thought never crossed my mind. I was just. It got to a point where it was so disrespectful. I just had to pull the plug.
Well, I was on a live with this girl, Mexican girl, that claims to be a Zionist. Okay, she was born in Mexico, and they wanted to bring me on because I give them hell and everything, and. They're trying to they were all laughing at me. I'm like, you can laugh as much as you can. I really don't care. In fact, you should see what I'm thinking about you guys. You should just, anyways, it's not important. What is important today, I got up at 4 in the morning, 4 or 5, which I always do, and I turn on the news, and they're showing this loss of IDF soldiers. They were trying to blow up a building, one building or two, with explosives, and one of our brothers, our resistance brothers, fired a RPG, and it started a backfire on the explosives that they were setting up to blow up this building. Or something, or I don't know if you guys heard about that incident today. It was on the news, like 28 IDF soldiers. I was wondering if they probably did that purposely to blame the resistance even further, blame them for more atrocities against the IDF, which we know it's completely opposite. I was wondering if you know anything about it, if you heard anything about it, and what's your thought about it. I'm thinking that they're even willing to unalive their own soldiers to blame the resistance, the H group.
I'm not sure about that. I didn't hear about the incident that you're referring to, so I can't speak to it. I'll maybe check online, but I would highly doubt that in terms of being purposeful. But I'm going to just mute you. There's a lot of noise back there. In terms of being purposeful, I doubt that's the case, although I wouldn't doubt it if the Hannibal Directive sometimes led to the unaliving, as we've seen so far, of either IDF soldiers, civilians, or some of both in certain circumstances. Sorry, that's my microwave. I'm making the dog dinner. Yeah, I doubt that. And I know they say that a lot of times that the H group on the other side does that. They force civilians to stay places so they'll be unalived. What sense does that make? I always wondered, why would somebody who has access to a protective tunnel go up into a building at gunpoint, force civilians not to move, and then wait for something to hit their head? That just makes no sense to me. So anyway, that's the case. Anyway, yeah, so Alejandro, that's a good point. I'll look into it. Thanks for being here. We have so many people that want to come up, so I'm going to keep moving on, but thank you for your points. I'll take a look at it. I really appreciate that. Okay, next person we have in the panel is Zam. Zam? How do you say it?
It's Zam. Hi, Chip.
Zam.
How are you?
Good.
First and foremost, thank you so much for your service. It was really disgusting to hear Captain Jonathan really discredit your service for someone that hasn't even served for United States of America. I found that a bit really disgusting. I found it really cheap for them to bring up money, because you see, this is kind of their new talking points. Us pro Pali, we love to support our fellow pro Pali. And one way we can do that is go to their lives, subscribe to them, but also when we see them debating other pro-Zios, we like to show support, because this is exactly what happens. They are getting harassed on these panels. Even the other day, I was disagreeing with someone and I was called anti-Semitic. You brought up a good point that's happening to a lot of African Americans in the United States. We cannot just say, no, please stop, don't touch me, when they're being forcibly searched. We can't just raise our hand up, right? There is a lot of violence against the African American community. And for them, who probably just immigrated to the United States, don't really understand the Black experience, and downgrading that experience, I found that extremely disgusting. So thank you again for staying calm, because this is what they want. They want you to be triggered, but it shows a lot of your emotional intelligence for staying calm and collected. And I think that's what's lacking on the other side.
Yeah, thanks for pointing that out. First of all, for those who don't know, the question I was asked by one of the panelists on the pro-Israel side, his name was something, I forget the name. Anyway, one of the guests, he looked like he is of either from African American, not African American, African descent of some type, mixed with some other. He wasn't clear where he was from, but he said he was not from Israel. The question he asked me was, what would you do if somebody in a position of authority, presumably like a police officer, was pointing a weapon at you and told you not to move your hands, or to put your hands, in other words, not to flinch? He said, what would you do in that situation? I said, well, it depends on whether I was white or African American or Hispanic. I said, if I was white, I could pretty much do what I want, and they're probably not going to shoot me, or whatever that word should be here. But if I was Hispanic or African American, unfortunately, in many instances, they would shoot first and ask questions later, because that's the unfair nature of our system. And somebody said, well, is that always? It's not always. Not every cop does that, but in many instances they do, enough that it's notable and it's worth pointing out the way that I did it. So, and by the way, staying calm, it's just the best way to communicate in any situation. I would welcome any of them to come up here to my panel, and I would treat them, with the respect that they didn't give to me, even if I totally disagree with them, even if they're saying words that are, not completely over the top, but even, impolite, so to speak. And they were incredibly rude and condescending and demanding that I say certain things or I couldn't continue on, which is just silly, Yeah. And you're never going to get somebody to agree with you if you force them to say what you want. That's absurd.
Absolutely. Well, just to add to that, it is a huge problem in the United States where it's being investigated by the FBI. There was a report of how many African Americans have been unalive by the police force. In every state is a pandemic. And the other thing, I definitely found it very ironic and disgusting, actually, that they called you a Yahtzee just because you disagree with them. And it speaks volume where they're thinking.
That's pretty bad.
Because you are disagreeing with someone, you're being called anti-Semitic, you're being called a Yahtzee just for disagreeing. And that is the privilege that we have living in America and living in Canada or living in any Western country, that we have the right to ask questions from our government.
Yeah, and listen, I understand from their point of view that people who don't openly embrace their cause are considered enemies of them because they think that they conflate, unfortunately, most people who are Zionists conflate their identity with being Jewish or from the Jewish homeland and a Zionist. And therefore, if you criticize any of the actions of the Zionists or the military or the government that leads that you're criticizing their identity. And I understand that point of view. I just differ. I just disagree. And the reason I disagree with that is there are people within Israel and what they call the diaspora, the other parts of the world where Jewish people live. And there's plenty of Jewish people who are more moderate who see it totally differently. They've come out from under the programming and they are critical also. So are they also anti-Semitic? Are they Yazis? Or are they people who have come to understand things differently and therefore they've shaped their opinions differently?
Well, actually, some of them do speak out against the Israeli government, and they are questioned about their religion. They say that they're not Jewish.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
that's the another thing. So, yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm going to drop down and let the other guys speak.
All right, great.
Thank
Nice
you.
to see you, Sam.
Nice to see you too. Bye.
Thanks a lot. Yeah, it's hard for me. Let's face it, I'm a white guy from America. I grew up middle slash upper middle class. My dad was a lawyer. I've not been through the prejudice or the discrimination that many people in our country unfortunately face. Nothing's perfect. It's gotten better. It's gotten better than it used. It used to be really bad, but it's not gone, and that sucks. And I don't know if it ever will be, but the country's demographics are changing in the United States. And I think in another 10 years or 8 years, the number of non-white people will outnumber the number of white people. So it's no longer going to be a white majority country, which is interesting. And we'll see how that dynamic shifts. Who knows? I don't even know. By the way, I'm having a special guest tomorrow night. I should have mentioned this earlier. Her name is Diane Sayre. If you don't know who Diane Sayre is, she's a independent candidate for the U.S. Senate in the state of New York. So I don't live in that state, but I've met Diane and I've talked to her and I've followed her for a long time. And I think she's way better than any of the existing senators in the Senate. And as much as they're paid off by big money and groups like AIPAC and stuff like that, where their loyalties are questionable at best, she's somebody who will serve her constituents and not get caught up in all that BS. So we need people like that. So tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern time, Diane will be on with me. You get to meet her, ask her some questions. She'll tell you about her background and what she believes. If you want to check her out, though, ahead of that, you can go to YouTube. Just type in Diane Sayre, S-A-R-E. And I'd say scroll down about maybe 8 or 10 videos, and you'll see one where she's wearing like this red Japanese type of outfit. And she gave a really good talk that I think sort of encapsulates her views and her background. So if you want to check that out, please do. All right, let's get back to our next guest. We have Hafid. How you doing, Hafid?
Hey, Chip.
Hi.
Hey, just wanted to say thank you for
Can you
allowing.
speak up just a little bit? It's kind of hard to hear you.
I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, much better. Thanks.
Thank you. I was saying thank you for the opportunity. Like the previous guest was mentioning, really gave a heartfelt message, and the things that you hear from the pro-Palestinian side, I want you to know that it's also a pro-humane side as well, and it's not about far right, far left. It's not about pushing an agenda. It's not about pushing propaganda. It's not about pushing our ideologies that we put out. I think it's about truth, and I think that at the end of the day, when we get judged based upon what we displayed out for the world. And what you have displayed out for the world to see is something that is called truth. And unfortunately, not a lot of people like the truth. The Pharaoh had 1 million plus soldiers who dictated and butchered and beheaded babies that that was something unprecedented and unheard of. And the main thing that Musa alayhi salam had against him that could not make him sleep at night was the fact that he had the truth. So we, you, and whoever knows the truth has the sharpest sword ever created. And it makes people like Bibi, I'm sorry for the language, it makes people like Bibi and others of that kind of company not be able to sleep at night, knowing that there are others knowing the truth about them. And I think that they know, the world knows about what they're doing. It's so much so far into the, like, you know, when you lie one time, and the reason we have wars, I just wanted to make this clear, that the reason we keep having these wars is because every time somebody wants to cover up a lie, they need to start another one to cover up the last one. So all it ends in is just more and more and more and more and more violence. And I was just wanting you to know that the more that you have the truth, the more that we understand the truth, the more that we have the truth with us, nobody could ever debunk that or take that away from us, or take that away from, you know, just what you put out in terms of your legacy and what you left for the people to see and to hear and to learn from. And I think that you are doing a part that many people are afraid to do, and many people don't have the capability to do as well. And you're making it possible for a lot of voiceless individuals to have a voice, and I think that is a major step in the right direction. And we thank you for your time. And I mean, I don't want to say much more than what I've just spoken about, but I think if you could elaborate on why is it the reason that, you know, do you agree with this reason, or thinking that every time there's something to cover up, then something comes up just to cover up the last one? For instance, the children of Gaza have been going through war since 2016. Every single time they turn around and try to rebuild, they only rebuild to get destroyed again. It hurts them. It hurts them. It hurts them. It's something that we could only speak about, and it hurts us as individuals to witness it. And, you know, all we can do is just, you know, talk about it with each other, pray about it with each other, ask that we all have understanding and guidance and wisdom that we did not have before. And there are different people that, you know, the Lord puts into your life for different reasons. And it's important for us to understand that. And it is 2024. In 1960, 70, 80s, they used to say, oh, what are they going to do in 2024? I wonder what kind of technology they're going to have. So we're able to have da'wah online. This is a beautiful technology and advancement for all of us. And thank you for making it possible. Thank you for the roses. I do appreciate it. Like I was saying, thank you for allowing us to be able to have a voice, and you speak truth. And no matter what anybody says about you, Chip, if you ever get on anybody else's life, you know the truth, you have the truth, and nobody's ever going to take that truth away from you. Nobody's ever going to take your legacy down for as long as we've heard your truth. Thank you so much. And this comes from a Muslim, and you're having an independent come in tomorrow. And I am a Muslim who was raised in America, and I used to actually say the Pledge of Allegiance in high school, throughout my high school time. So if we actually follow the Pledge of Allegiance, it
You got to
actually
tie it
says,
up too. I got a lot of people waiting. Just finish up, please.
I'm so sorry, but I just want, it does say under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So Me as a Muslim, we pray 5 times a day. Me seeing
Just
this
please,
in
please,
front of
please,
schools.
please finish up. We got to get to some other guests.
Oh, I'm so sorry, but when I did see this in a school, that we start off with some kind of prayer, it made me believe that we're all the same. And that's how I've always felt, and that's how you make me feel. Thank you so
Good.
much. I'm not going to
You're
make it
welcome.
long.
Thank you for coming on. I appreciate you. Yeah, people have accused me of being quote unquote a spokesperson for Palestine. Listen, I just happen to look at this thing a certain way. If I saw it differently, I would speak to that. So I don't know anybody from Palestine. I've met some nice people who happen to have relations in Palestine through different events I've attended, but none of us are like close pals. I mean, I feel the warmth and kindness from them, but I don't have an allegiance that I lean towards either way, is what I'm trying to say. I don't know anybody in Ukraine or Russia, but I happen to see that thing a certain way. So again, nobody's perfect and nobody has a complete lock on knowledge, by the way. And in fairness, there some points were raised. I don't know what the numbers are exactly. I need to investigate some of this stuff. But the good thing is if your opinion isn't tied to your identity or your view, who cares? If you're wrong, and you fix it and you move on, right? That's what it should be. So hopefully all of us can incorporate that into our way of thinking. Okay, I don't know the name here. I can't really see it, but here you are,
Oh,
Magic.
Magic. Hey, what's up, brother? I want to say, man, I want to give you a big shout out, man. Like you're the truth. You hear me? As a Dominican, I got a Dominican sister up there too. We support you 100%. We support Palestine. I even reached a point to even make a website for what's going on, because we're being censored, we got our brothers and sisters that go up on these panels and they always say, show the truth, show the truth. So what's going to happen is we're going to grab that link, and with one link, all the facts and all the stuff that we're gonna debunk them with is gonna be right there. And on top of that, well, right now, what really matters is the stories of the Palestinians or just anybody that suffered a genocide. So we're gonna have that on our website as well too. So for, I know somebody that's from Palestine. It could be your great grandmother that is in the States now, and we could put her story up there too to show people in the world like, hey, this is something that's been going on for years, okay? That's been going on for years, and these people are not living a fair life. What to me, I used to be a Christian. I revert to Islam. What really triggered me as a Christian was Christians supporting this type of stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't condone that 100%. I don't. I'm not with that. And people look at me. I have to one of these I was live. They looked at me like this on camera, and they automatically assumed I'm a Palestinian, and they were being racist towards me. And I'm like, wow, like I didn't even get to say the word. All I said was salam alaikum, and they automatically attacked me. So I said, okay, cool. I kept my cool and whatnot. But Chip, you're an amazing person. Keep doing your thing. Don't let nobody do that.
Chip, I will remove that from the camera.
Say again.
Oh, sorry. Don't
I
let
will
nobody
remove
shut
that
you
that
down.
that thing from the camera because they like to
This way,
say,
it's for my cat. My cat has to take
yeah,
medicine.
but you know how they are. They'll be like, oh,
Yeah,
the needle.
thank you for the point. Yeah, great point. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? Yeah. Thanks for the advice. Appreciate that. Yeah, thank you for the support, man. And listen, I'm glad that you're on what's the name of your website in case people want to visit it? So thank you for the support, man. And listen, I'm glad that you're on got an echo going on now.
Yeah, website, and I'll let you know.
All right, we're kind of having a bad connection. Come on back and tell us the website, okay? Or say it in the chat because we're getting some sort of feedback. Okay, and by the way, whoever came on, was that Casey that came on? Is that how you say
Yeah,
your
that's
name?
me. This is Cass, but
Hey,
I put Casey. Yeah,
Cass. Okay, cool.
yeah. I was just on the. I want to say thank you first and foremost. I appreciate everything that you're doing. I actually dropped down from that live. I don't know if you were there listening to me when I was there, and I said I'm gonna go ahead and drop down for Chip because, and then they took a while to bring you up because I know that they don't actually want to debate you. They know that you have an educational head. They're not going. They don't like bringing people up unless they feel like they have a wolf pack to come and attack. So the way that I
Yeah.
do it for those that are, I believe myself to be educated in the topic. I have been following since 2014. But for those that don't understand, I truly recommend that you go in there with a question that you wish to ask. And if it's to a specific panelist, I would ask it to that specific panelist. When they turn out, I'd be like, I'm up here. I want to ask a question. When I was up there, I went up there because I have an opinion on why evangelicals support Israel. And
Okay.
sometimes it could be because of Islamophobia, which is rampant in our country. This is known. I have to educate people in my own community. Like he said, I'm Dominican, I'm a Hispanic woman, and I have to educate Christians in my I've been to different churches, I've spoken to different people via Zoom calls, and I try to explain the Palestinian plight, which is kind of difficult for them because they're stuck on Islamophobia. But going back to what I was stating, I specifically went up there to ask Nicholson because I feel like I have this feeling that he feels that he is a prophet, and for him to accomplish what needs to happen, which is the rapture, is for all the Jewish people to be in Jerusalem. That's just my opinion. Some people might disagree with me, but I honestly believe that he's doing that. He's working. He feels like he's a prophet on this earth, and that is his goal. So I do see him as an extremist. For those that don't know, in 2015, he was actually arrested on Temple Mount for waving an Israeli flag. During 4 days previous to that, a 18-month-old baby was unalived by Israeli settlers. He was actually burned. 2 days later after that, Ben Gavir, which is the minister of security, we all know who this guy is. He actually was arrested for supporting the T word for the illegal settlement. He was unalive, an 18-month-old baby, and Ben Gavir decided to, with his friends, to throw a party and to hold up a sign with the 18-month-old baby picture and have a dance party while with a instrument basically stabbing that picture of that baby. So we must know what type of extremes we're dealing with. And I feel like when you have these conversations with them, they don't look at their actions as if they're extremists. Would you agree with me on that?
Yeah, they think that everything they do is justified and that it's always the Palestinians that are the problem, troublemakers.
Absolutely. So I'll just leave it off at that. I just want people to, I know we all have opinions. We don't all know as much as Chip does, or people like Mo or Zubaida or Mufasa or Hasmonius. This is just to mention a few. There are people that are extremely educated in the verse. But for those that are curious and that you feel that you have statements to make, just know that when you go into that bullpen, have a question. And once your question is done, leave. Because most likely they will attack you. And I'm so sorry, Chip, that Jonathan came at you that way, because no one deserves to be disrespected in that manner. It was absolutely disgusting.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to be like, you know what? I made my statements and I'm out of here. That's just my personal opinion. But thank you so
Well,
much for having me
yeah,
on.
the question he was asking me was, do you condemn the age group in its entirety? The answer to that has to be, no, I don't condemn them. I don't.
Absolutely.
I don't.
Absolutely. We have to understand, and this is for people that are listening. You have 287 people. The age group would never do what you have to understand, that there is a backlash to actions that have been going on for decades. You have to understand the Palestinian plight to understand the trouble that Israel has placed on them. This didn't just happen. People didn't just wake up one day and said, I want to go harm people. And people should read the 17 pages that the age
Right.
group just released. I truly believe that you must be educated to completely understand this is not a normal situation. These are modern times. We're not talking about something that happened thousands of years ago. We're talking about something that literally happened just 75 years ago, when 750,000 Palestinians were displaced. They were moved into the West Bank. They were shipped to other countries. They were pushed into Gaza. Many 500 villages were basically decimated. And after that, they continuously terrorized these people. And I mean, like, and I don't want to go on because it's just too much information, but I just want people to look at just 2019, 2020, 2022, 2023, before October 7th. Go into the human rights pages and go look at how many children have been unalived by the IDF for the last 5 years, and just look at the backstories. You will find children as young as 3 years old that were attacked by the IDF. You will find children that were 7, 5, 4, 6, different ages that have been arrested. There's a video of a child that's literally 5 years old that the IDF went to go pick him up at his school, and he actually, you know, he peed on himself. Sorry, I don't want to use the language, but yeah, he was so afraid. He was so afraid that he urinated on himself, and that's atrocious. And they left happy doing that. So I just want people to really have a mindset of, when they support Israel, know who you're supporting. This is if you believe in Jesus, Jesus would not say this is okay. That's all I'm saying. But thank you so much, Chip.
You're welcome. Thanks for being
Bye-bye.
here. Okay, let me bring that down. We have Mel that's next, I believe.
How are you?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Pretty good. I just want to say I respect you a lot, and something that you stated earlier was that you are not Palestinian, nor are you an Israeli, and from that standpoint, you would be viewed as a non-biased source for this topic, and what I've observed in all of these lives within the last 2 months is that they're all speaking from emotion, and there's rare instances where there's actual primary source evidence that's provided to back up these claims. And, it's such an unfair advantage that they have when they have their panels that they claim are so fair. They're allowed to go on and on and on with all of these unsubstantiated, educated claims, and then kind of benefit off of what platform they have, because it's a propaganda platform. Because if we look at all of the other lives, people are having intellectual discussions based upon history, based upon things that they have primary source evidence for. So I just feel like they are getting worse and worse with their behavior, because they can see that the public is on the side of the truth. And, I was actually on the live that you were on, where they were just all coming at you. And one person said some bogus statistics about how all of public opinion is on the side of the Israelis and so on and so forth. And I kept replying.
He said 80% of the U.S. public supports Israel. That's just not true.
Right, exactly. And it's like I kept commenting to him to provide evidence. And I've been on so many panels where I had to define what a primary source is to these people. And it's like, it's very clear that they're pushing a propaganda narrative versus trying to educate the public about their position as Zionists. It's very clear, just from simple observation, I've seen that on various panels from, the pro-Israelis, the pro-Zionists.
Yeah, I agree. It's I've done many videos about this too. It's almost like you're talking to a creature that doesn't have any reason. Things that make their case they embrace, and things that detract from it they completely reject outright. Just that's it. That there's only two things. It either supports them or it doesn't. If it doesn't, it must be untrue. It's a very you rack your brain like you want to pull your hair out. You can't get through it. There's no objective reality.
Absolutely. And that's why I think it's very important for people to realize that these are panels that are propaganda narratives, not anything based in actual evidence. They're all speaking from emotion, and they're all trying to cling on to this, this entity that is no longer going to be a thing, because we have the truth on our side. We have evidentiary support to back up our claims and our positions, whether it is that you are a Palestinian, whether you are even Israelis. I have a friend that is that was a Zionist, and she has opened her heart to the truth. She has opened her heart to the fact that she doesn't have to have anyone think for her. She can legitimately look for the information on her own and, make her position based on the history, based on the facts that are out there.
Yeah, great points. Yeah, that's good. The ability to sort of objectively look at things, regardless of your tribe, is a really good quality for critical thinking and for getting to the truth. And listen, in fairness, people always say that I'm a truth teller. I do the best I can with the information that I have available, and as new stuff comes around, you hopefully reorient your point of view, because obviously different evidence comes in. You should, take it for what it is and not reject it outright, like I was just saying.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm a big defender of, calling yourself out even when you're wrong, and I'm very understanding that, like, we all don't have the answers, but we can only go off of what we have now, and based upon actually, substantiated evidence, you can make your position. But if you're doing it all based upon emotion and this tribalism and this, just like fearful position, then it's just obvious that they're not telling the truth on a lot of what they say.
I agree. Yeah, it's unfortunate too. But when you have something that's not defensible, and this is the real problem it comes down to, they were talking about the strikes and the airstrikes basically, and there is no way to defend that. And obviously, everybody with a lick of common sense can see that. Even President Biden said this, and that's telling. He said, you have to stop the indiscriminate bombing of civilians. That's just not okay. And everybody, the people on the panel that I was just on, tried to make the claim that that was ridiculous. It was all age civilians. That's just a bunch of malarkey. And I'd probably, if I had to guess, I would say 95%, that's a guess, of all of the buildings that came down that were residential and other facilities had nothing to do with military targets. They were just dropped on, just that's it. Look what's been happening. We've seen buildings that have been blown up. Now, they're not threats in those buildings. They were able to go in there and place explosives. There's no combatants in there. They're destroying things because they can. They're wreaking havoc on the infrastructure and the housing stock and all the other things in North Gaza. And they're going to mid Gaza, and they're headed towards South Gaza, seemingly unstoppable. They had a bunch of attacks in Khan Yunis today that people were fleeing from, the last operational hospital in the entire Gaza Strip. So it's a campaign of mass unalivedness and, in my opinion, war crimes. And obviously, in the opinion of other countries, including South Africa, we wouldn't be seeing this case being brought to the International Court of Justice. It's irrefutable. That's why you lie.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I commend you and everyone that tries to do their part, coming on to panels and making videos and everything like that, because they are committing heinous war crimes, and
Yeah.
it's absolutely needs to stop. So I am proud of all of us working to do our part to, help in whatever way we can. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
that's great. Thanks for coming up. I
Yep.
appreciate you.
Have a good one. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thanks for advocating. It's always great to have good people here. Let me just make sure I'm following this person before I go. Yeah, there we go. I'm following you. There we go. Nice to talk to you, Mel. Thanks for being here. Yeah, not so great, right? Well, listen, I would like to be optimistic and think that this whole thing is going to magically fix itself someday, but it's very clear from the behavior, the actions of the Israelis, not just during hard right, administrations like the Netanyahu government, but all of the governments over the different years. The same basic practices have kept on going, like settlements in the West Bank. The U.S. condemns them. The international community condemns them. They keep building them. No one stops them. The U.S. could stop sending the $4 billion a year of aid as sort of a punishment for contempt, but they don't. Why is that? That's a fair question to ask, right? Why is it that our country, our treasury, the credit card bill that we get, we the people, is issuing $4 billion plus a year, plus whatever supplementals come out of this conflict, to Israel? Why? Who's making those decisions and why? Seems odd, right? There's got to be some connection there. It doesn't happen by accident, whether it's the Israel lobby or people who are in positions of power, industry, whatever it may be. Something's influencing this, so it keeps happening. And if we had some leaders with a backbone, they would have said stop. They would have demanded that they stop. Maybe they have, and maybe the Israelis are just ignoring them now. I don't know. But it's sickening either way. I can't believe it's been able to go this far. I knew there was going to be a very, very harsh response that was going to be very much disproportional, but I never thought it was going to be like this. Seriously, been watching this thing forever, and this is by far the worst I've ever seen it. Okay, next guest is Joe. Come on up, Joe. How you doing tonight?
How are you? How's
Good. Thanks.
how you been? Did you panel? I was trying to warn you. As I was invited in a couple panels like this, and from the first second, I mean, they realized that I have an accent, so they said, okay, he's easy to like bully. They didn't have it nice for me because I'm Egyptian. I lived this thing. I know exactly what's going on over there.
Sure.
So they didn't have that much to say until they start interrupting you, starting like just throw any numbers at you or any bullshit. And the point I was making for them that you guys were talking about 75 years. It's easy to go back 75 years this time of age and figure out what happened. If you're talking about like 300 years, I would say, yeah, the Civil War maybe, or something like that. But over here right now, 75 years, people still live there. You understand? That's older than Israel itself. My point is, I think that's if you look at the panels and you will look at I have a friend who lives in Jerusalem, and he tells me that's the propaganda over there and in the media, in the TV, in the street, everywhere. It's about revenge and about going back to Gush Katif and taking over Gaza and all this. They don't deserve it, and we this is our land. That. So they are conditioned to hate Arabs. They are conditioned to hate everybody that there. And I keep asking them, do you know that the people who were born there have more rights than you who were born in Long Island or in Paris or wherever you come from? You know that they were born there. I just uploaded some videos, and I have more videos coming about the DNA of the ancestry over there. And it tells you that the Palestinian has 3,000 years of DNA link to Palestine and Lavender. And they tell you that they have more heritage than anybody. And actually, most of the Palestinian Jew, they converted to Islam when Islam came. So you have maybe your cousin became a Muslim, or like somebody, your grandfather was a Muslim. And you understand? So there is a link of family for the people who were living there. The people who came from everywhere else, they don't have any DNA link to this area. You understand? But they're trying to make it about the Bible and the Holy Land. Everything is about the rights to come back. So the Armageddon have to happen, and the Messiah comes back, and Yeshua, and all this. It's all about dying and and holiness. About your deed of land is the Bible. It just doesn't make sense. If that's your deed, there's no land deed that you can present as a Bible from 3,000 years ago, which we don't know how it was put together. The other thing I want to ask you, I have a recommendation for you. You should make serious about communication and how to handle dialogue on TikTok, because you are good at it. You have a very calm and easy way to communicate with people, and even the more so the people that's adverse to you. So I think you should start making serious about it, because it's not only about Palestine. There's million conversation about million other things in TikTok, and a lot of people, they don't know how to handle themselves on how to dialogue and how to handle a panel and how to handle rejection and things like that. So maybe you think about it, and it's a serious communication, learning communication and skills like this is not easy. The other thing I want you to tell me about is how you made your dog food. I love your dog. I have a dog. I have two dogs and pit bulls, and I'm busy guy, as you know. I have all these restaurants to go for, and I just I put dry food for them sometimes, and I don't get wet food. But I like the mixture you did. It looked so good. So what you put in it?
Yeah, it's a dog food, and I don't know if this is the best one. It's just one of the ones that's refrigerated at the pet store. So it's called Nature's Fresh.
Mhm.
And then so I take, about a 1 inch wide, maybe 4 centimeters worth. And then I take some of this food here. It's just like a science diet adult dog food. I know it's backwards, but it's age 1 through 6 because my dog's 4 years old. So I just chop it up, put it in the microwave for a minute to soften it. Then I smash it with a fork. Then I add like a handful of that dry dog food, a little bit of hot water, mix it together, and it makes
Nice,
like this nice, it makes like a stew for the dog, which looks like it tastes pretty good, I guess.
nice. And now it looked good actually. I wanted to eat it.
Yeah,
How
I haven't
how
tried
how,
it yet, but
how
I've
many
thought about
times
it.
you feed them though? Because he's
Twice a
in
day. So
shape. My dog is fat.
well, there's a reason why dogs get fat. That's because you're feeding them too much garbage.
Yeah, that's true. And I'm guilty of that. But
Yeah, there's only 3 species that are fat. It's Americans or humans, and then dogs and cats. Every
yeah.
other species is normal because they exercise, right?
No, I have two dogs and two cats. They don't do anything. I brought the dogs for my kid, and my kid doesn't do anything with them. It's just play for an hour and that's it. That's
Makes sense.
we do the whole hard work.
Thanks for coming on tonight. I
Thank you,
appreciate you.
brother. Thank-
See you next time. Thanks,
Take
Joe.
care. Bye bye.
Joe has restaurants. I think it's in New Jersey, if I'm not mistaken. So maybe one day we'll get Joe to host a bunch of us for a nice dinner. Wouldn't that be fun? I would love that. Okay. Uh, let me get the next guest up here. Freedom Philistine. I'm sorry you had to wait. I know you came in and you got knocked out or something. I apologize for that.
No worries. I wanted to hit on two things. That guy Steven that was up here that was saying he blames only the higher echelon and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But in this day and age, we have common morals and decency in the world. And you're a vet. I'm a vet. We're both Army vets. And we know that if a officer gives us an unlawful order, we're not to follow it, and we're to try to relieve him of his command. So I think that's just an excuse to say that it's not the lower echelon, it's the upper echelon. If I were somebody in the higher Knesset with the Israeli people, and I heard the prime minister making those speeches, I would look to take that prime minister out and anybody else that said that, because that's, once again, he's committing war crimes against humanity, but not only that, crimes against morality, period. And then the second point is that, this Zionist settler project was created by the elite, so the three religions off each other in the end, just to push forward the narrative of, the faith and to rein in this and that. So they're just pushing their hands, whether it's they're pushing a narrative that the prophecy needs to be fulfilled, but the prophecy was fulfilled a long time ago. And there's no need for this. It's a way for them to control and stay in control. They're using our religions against us, and that's it. That's pretty much it. It's a tool for them to use it, whether you're Jewish, Muslim, or Christian. Uh, it's a tool for them to use that against us. So when we follow that narrative, we just empower them more. What we need to do is united in humanity, and then everything else will fall in place, and there will be peace around the world, and nobody gets unalived.
Yeah, that sounds great to me, and that's a perfect segue, by the way. I don't know if you heard the news about the guest that I'm having tomorrow night. Did you hear about Diane Sayre yet?
No, she's an independent.
Yeah, she's an independent candidate for the Senate seat currently held by Kirsten Gillibrand in the state of New York. And Diane is a total peace candidate, right with what you just said. She's for peace, for taking care of people at home, not spending all this crazy money abroad for all these wars, and basically taking care of people, treating people with respect and dignity and giving people a chance to bring their talents to the fore by providing equal opportunity to people.
Right, that's the way it should be.
Exactly. So
With
I call her
all this
a
money,
decent-
all this money they're spending on wars and everything else, they could have housed everybody in the country with $1 million home.
Possibly, yeah. All I know is this: things could be a lot better if we had a better direction that wasn't motivated by greed and control and power that we currently have, which is, it may
Correct.
be the way things historically consistent, but it doesn't make it right.
Yep, and that's why they're poison. I guess they're a bunch of supremacists that feel that they're only entitled to the earth and only their family should live. And what they're doing is, like for Bill Gates, for instance, with that vaccine bull crap, and now he's buying up the farms to put the vaccine in there, and he's buying up the beer companies to put garbage in that too. So these I want to say sadistic fascists are. I don't know. I've always called Zionism Satanism. So who knows? But that's not saying that the Jewish people, but they've been fooled into that narrative and tricked thinking that the state is for them by themselves and stuff like that. They don't realize what the actual agenda behind it is. And like I said, everybody's fooled and deceived, and they place people in areas to where they can deceive. And those people that are doing the deception they're rewarded very well because, they're following the agenda and making things happen. So these well, I want to say useful idiots follow along blindly without understanding humanity and understanding what's going on around them. I feel that wisdom doesn't come through education; it comes through understanding the world around you.
Yeah, great points. Well, thanks for coming by tonight, Freedom. I really appreciate it.
No worries. You
Have a good evening,
night.
sir. Thank you very much. Yeah, good points. The more we can come together and be peaceful, that's all good. And that's why I want to talk to people like Diane. You see her picture in the background here. Very nice woman. You can go on YouTube. Her last name is spelled Sayre, S-A-R-E, Diane Sayre. And so I talked to Diane at the Palestinian March for Gaza in Washington, D.C. about 10 days ago. And I immediately went up to her because I recognized her. I've seen her before at other protests, but we've never really connected. And I said, "Hey, Diane, I'm Chip, blah, 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 and I really appreciate you, and I want to talk more about how we can help you get elected." And so we started talking, and then we decided to do an appearance tomorrow night on the live. So I'm excited about it. I mean, you're going to love Diane. I think she's great. And she just kind of gets it. She's smart, she's fair, she's got compassion, she's kind, but she's sharp, and she's very aware, and she's very knowledgeable. So you add those things together, and you got a good person, right? A good advocate for the public in the Senate. Now, that I have a lot of complaints about how the political system works. That's fair. But anytime we can get a good person in who has a platform to advocate for the right things, I'm all for it. So in that regard, I'm happy to support someone like Diane. So I hope you'll join us tomorrow night. It's going to be 8 p.m. Eastern time. And if you want to find out a little bit more about Diane, I did a video about her. It's in my video library. It says special announcement as the title. And then if you want to check Diane out, you can go to YouTube and you can type her name in the search bar, Diane Sayre, and then go down about 8 or 10 videos and you'll see her wearing a red, like Japanese type of, outfit. and she was giving a talk about the current events about a month ago. So I think you'll like what she has to say. But hopefully you'll come see her live. I'm gonna enjoy speaking with her no matter what happens. If we get 10 people or 10,000 people, but please pass it around. If you watch that video, please forward it, comment, whatever, the whole 9 yards. Because Diane deserves a good audience. She's a really good person, and these kind of third-party candidates have a very hard time getting their name out and getting funding they need for their campaign. It's really hard. So the more people you invite, this is somebody who would definitely be who definitely is pro-Palestinian. She's against war. She's against this crazy Israeli behavior, and she's an advocate. So please come out and support Diane, because who else? We're all talking about, well, why don't politicians help? This is somebody who will. Okay. She has a TikTok account, by the way. So if you look her up, Diane Sayre, she's on TikTok. You can see her here too. Chip, you are Jewish. For you, what you are doing is even worse. Sigalit, listen, it's fair to criticize my point of view if you want to. I'm not Jewish, but I know people who are. This is not a Jewish issue for me, or not Jewish. I know some people believe that the state of Israel as a sanctuary and a safe homeland for Jewish people is integral to their identity. I'm a huge proponent of a Jewish homeland, or safety and security for historically persecuted Jewish people, 100%. Where I have some issues as far as the founding of the state of Israel, just to be fair and looking at objectively from both sides of the aisle, there were people that were, out of no fault of their own, negatively affected. Let's face it, that happened, right? You can call it what you want. Maybe it was beneficial to people who needed a place to be for a homeland. But in fairness, other people got harmed by the establishment. You may say, well, tough luck, you're for your people. Okay, well, that's one way of looking at it. But the way I look at it is, it's fair for them to point that out and to be angered by it, just like people are angered by what happened in the 40s in Germany to their people. Now, obviously, that's different extents. I'm not trying to compare the two in terms of magnitude, but there was still a significant number of people whose lives were uprooted. I've had people say, okay, fair, that's to be acknowledged, right? You can try to justify it however you want, but that happened. What I take the most issue with, though, let's assume that that's considered politically acceptable. I'm not saying it is, but let's just assume it were, which, by the way, the H group has revised their charter to reflect that belief that, hey, it's probably not going to change. It's politically an entity that's probably not going to be going anywhere. So let's do the next best thing, which is to have a state based on the pre-1967 borders, before Israel, in my opinion, and most others, moved aggressively and offensively without justification because it perceived a threat inaccurately. It then used a preemptive strike on the air forces of both Egypt and the southwestern portion of Syria to basically make it easy for them to move across to the Jordan River and secure the territory. And of course, the Golan Heights in the north and the Sinai in the south. That's what happened. And so if you think that gives you the territory, you can have that interpretation. Most people outside say, no, that's not cool. Wasn't okay. You can't say you got attacked. You didn't get attacked. You weren't threatened. You perceived you were threatened inaccurately. Okay. So to say it's worse, it says for what you are doing, it's even worse. All I'm doing is trying to call balls and strikes. That's it, man. I mean, like I've said this so many times, if you flip the script, and I'll shut up and let our next guest here in just a second. I just got to say this. If you flip the script and it was an Arab nation that was carved out of historic Palestine, and then somehow a bunch of Jewish people, again, historically horrible, got further displaced and further marginalized, which has happened all the time in history. And I think that's horrible. But I would say the same exact things. If things had played out the same way they have, but you just flip the names of the people, and it was Jewish people being marginalized and scattered to the wind and put in these small enclaves and scattered to other countries, and then further marginalized by a brutal Arab occupation. And occasionally the more militant members of the Jewish community fought back, just like they did in the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising. I support that as well, to be equivalent. And then there was this one extensive attack that was the largest one among them that happened recently. I understand the context. It's fair for Jewish people to resist their persecution under those circumstances, right? Fair is fair. But also the Arab country then steps in and then brutalizes the enclave in which these previous refugees had to move to and unalives tens of thousands of Jewish people while destroying the entire northern half of the territory that they're already stuck in the first place. I would criticize the Arab government for doing that. I would also be critical of any atrocities that the Jewish militants did when they incurred into the Arab territories. Fair is fair, right? So it's not to me about Jewish or Arab or Christian or Judaism or any of that bullshit. It's about the power dynamics and the behavior of the parties. Who's oppressed, who isn't, who harmed who didn't, right? And there's been some back and forth, fair enough. There's been a separation barrier put in to stop those types of things from happening. Fair is fair. But the way, if this is my point to you, would you and your family, A, want to be displaced? Yes or no? At the end of a gun? Probably not. I wouldn't either. Would you and your family want to live under military occupation where your life is made miserable by everybody? An 18-year-old with a gun can make you miserable as a 50-year-old man. He can make you undress in front of your family. He can walk you out, put a blindfold on you, stick you in a vehicle, send you off to jail for no damn reason. Would you want that? I wouldn't. Would you want to have your house bulldozed or stolen from somebody who's a settler? I wouldn't. Would you want to have sewer water or chemicals that mimic that sprayed on your house 2-3 days a week? I wouldn't want that. Would you want to have people pour cement in your water wells so you can't drink? I wouldn't want that. Would you want settlers who lived on higher ground to roll barrel OMBS down the hill with all sorts of shrapnel that explode and unalive people? I wouldn't want that, would you? I don't think you would. And on and on and on and on. I could go on for 3 hours and not even get it out of my mouth. I don't think you'd like that. Now, you may argue it's for your own security. You can make that argument. I say bullshit. I say that's going over and above. Checkpoints along the border, okay. Checkpoints throughout the entire territory, not okay. Trying to get from one part of the occupied territory to the other is a nightmare. Do yourself a favor. Listen, you may never do this, which if you don't, it's okay. But you can't say that I didn't share this with you, okay? There's a great documentary, not made by me, some arguably, somebody's taking sides you like to blame for me. I don't forget about me. Trust a young Jewish American woman who was challenged by her peers to visit the occupied territories because people were sharing with her some of the things that I've just shared with you here, and she didn't believe them. She thought they were brainwashed. They're just Palestinian, propaganda, blah, blah, blah. They said, listen, Anna, go. Anna Baltzer. So she did. She went and stayed in Ramallah just under 6 months with a Palestinian family. And what she learned, she was just totally flabbergasted. She's like, why wasn't I told this? Why was I lied to my whole life growing up? How can life be like this for any group of people? And why is it this way? And how is that fair? Because she has a moral compass. I'm not saying you don't, but I just laid out all the things that you wouldn't like, nor would any human being, including Anna, who saw it firsthand. I'm like, holy smokes. So she made it her mission to come back and talk about it. And so she put together a simple documentary called Life in Occupied Palestine. And she just walks through some of the stuff, not even all of the stuff I just talked about. So I give you the gift of knowledge. If you want to take it, take it. If you don't, you can ignore it and just claim that I'm some whack job. But this is not me saying it. This is somebody who comes from a Zionist household, who comes from the belief in Israel, who went and saw reality and then came back and just felt compelled to speak about it out of sheer having a decent center, like being a centered person, being fair-minded. That's how I really try to be. Again, I have no animus towards anybody on either side. I don't know anybody from either side well enough to call them like a friend or a family member, none of that stuff. So to call me biased and that I'm pro-Palestinian, I'm not. I'm against injustice and I'm against subjugation to oppression. I'm against what happened to Jewish people in World War II and in other places where they were historically persecuted or driven out of their homes. I'm against all that stuff in every instance. So I don't know what else I can say to tell you that I try to be down the middle. I don't get it all right, and when I don't, I make a correction. I'm not, my ego and my identity's tied to my take on a situation. And thank goodness, because it takes all the pressure off. You don't have to be right. You can be like, this is what I thought then. I learned this. This is what I think now. Okay. Sorry to take so damn long. I had to lay that out there. When people make comments like that, kind of saying that I'm biased, I just can't stand hearing that crap. So I'm sorry I went so long. That was a long monologue there.
Oh, cool. What's up? How you doing?
Good, thanks.
It was really good to hear that stuff. That stuff needed to be said and it needed to be understood by whoever is watching, because a lot of people really don't understand the extent of the crimes against the Palestinian people. And I wanted to add, they never mention the microaggressions. They never mention all the stuff going on in Jerusalem. You have kids going to school, getting dragged out of the line to school, which, mind you, it could be a 5-minute walk and it turns into an 1.5 hour long journey to get to school.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you're subjugated to humiliation, to violent physical. You're at the end of a rifle half the time, just hoping that, hey, maybe let's just hope this guy just continuously views me as a non-threat, right? But then these children, they get stripped of, hey, I want to see all your school books, and they get their school books chucked out. This happened in 2019, right? It was very well documented in 2019 that this happened, that they're taking any school book that has a Palestinian flag on it and they're confiscating them, right? And they've done this consistently. They raided the Al-Aqsa compound while Muslims are praying, right? To increase hostilities. They've been warmongering. Nobody speaks about how heavily they're warmongering. And I remember I heard you speaking about it earlier about how there's 1 million plus arrests of Palestinians on since 1968. You said it on one of the other lives you were on today. That number is it's ridiculous to think about. It's absolutely ridiculous to think about, especially when you think about how many people got expelled, how many people were just, hey, we're not going to arrest you, but you can't stay here any longer, right? And then how many people are physically beaten. Mind you, there's violent acts carried out against Palestinians where they're injured, they're beaten, one thing or another, but then they tell them, hey, look, if you try to go to the hospital, you will be arrested. Because then we have the evidence that you were at the protest. You could take your ass home, and then you could try to recover from whatever it was that hit you, right? And then you don't have to report it at the end of the day. That's it, where it's basically the numbers are severely like deflated. They're so minimized, it's not even funny. And then there's some people who are just they're momentarily detained, so it's not even an arrest. They're just held for a little bit. So when you see that, also the official arrest numbers is around 50% of men. 50% of men have been arrested at one point or another officially. Officially, it's documented. So if you have 1 out of 2 men having been behind bars, in cuffs, subjugated, humiliated, oppressed, beaten, and whatnot, right? You're gonna force a resistance. That's how you create a resistance, right? So why does nobody talk about how they are intentionally creating hostilities, while meanwhile they're fear mongering and they're spinning the narrative to the Israeli people and tell them, hey, they want us all, they want to unalive all of us. They have a problem with the Jews. They don't like the Jews. Any Arab will tell you, Chip, I promise you, any Arab will tell you, look, bro, I got all the love in the world for you. You know what I mean? I know how my family feels about you as well. I'll tell you, I'm closer to the Jews than I am to you, Chip. Like miles closer. You know what I mean? Like they're cousins of ours. Like we consider them essentially family. You know what I mean? That they are our closest blood relatives on the culturally, historically, and ancestrally. They are our blood relatives to the Palestinian people, to the Arab people, right? That's how we consider them. So it's not a Jewish and a Muslim thing, or an Arab and a Jewish thing at all. But they want to fear monger. They want to tell them, hey, they want us all gone. They want us all gone. Meanwhile, they're arresting 1 out of every 2 men. How is this man going to provide food for his family? You know, he could barely get to work. And then when he finally got able to get to work, you either beat him or you arrested him, or his nephew or his son, right? So you're constantly... Every one step we take forward, they knock us 3 steps back intentionally to create these hostilities. You know what I mean? If you weren't getting beaten on your way to school and having your school books taken, you're getting arrested while you're on your way to work 5-10 years later, right? You're being limited movement. You got your well by your home destroyed. It's such an endless cycle, but it's designed to create hostilities. So they have that tension where they could see, hey, look at all those angry Arabs. Israelis, come on, look at all these angry Arabs. You need us. You need the military. You have to join the military. You have to bear arms, and you have to make sure you're ready to fight back against these angry Arabs. Look how angry they are. And it's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. Like, bro, it's one of the most like disheartening things to see, because personally, I know the Arab people, like, we're not scared to revolt. We're not scared to fight back. Like, we stand up for whatever, like we're really not afraid to give it all up for what is right. We stand up for what's right, period. But it's like, yo, we're peaceful. We want to live peacefully. We want to live simply. We want to see the people that we love happy. It's that simple. You know what I mean? When you have the finger pointed at you the whole time, you know, it's either a finger or it's a rifle. It's one or the other. You know, what are we meant to do in that situation? They don't want to mention it. It's sickening. It's sickening. But people are opening up their eyes, though. They're seeing it. Like, people who never understood. To them, we were all just angry Arabs. Literally, we were all just angry Arabs. Like, why are the Arabs so pissed? I don't understand. Like people who grew up in the West, like, they don't get it. Like, we just look like a bunch of whatever they want to call us, whether it's barbarians or whatever it's gonna be, right? And they just wonder, but then when they actually start looking into the details, start looking into the facts and say, wow, like look at every time something was about to go their way, look like bro, they assassinated that UN ambassador in 48 who was gonna try to get us a fair deal. They done so many sneaky and just outright immoral things that are just complete violations of human rights, war crimes, and just pure evil, right? And they accept to just have carte blanche and just do whatever they want, that this has to be accepted. That's wrong.
Let's just so we have a couple more people. Can you please wind it down in about 30 seconds? Would that
Oh
be
yeah,
okay?
I got you. So it's like generally, I just want to understand what it is that what's the solution supposed to be if we get absolutely no just no recognition for what is being done to us. I think their formula is honestly deny, 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 Chip. That's all it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that the game that's been being played for many decades is slow but steady dispossession and like just the frog in the hot water approach. And then recently the water has been turned up dramatically and much more quickly. And it's hard to see, but it's all part of the same game in my opinion. And right now with the power dynamics, and this is what kills me to say this, think about it. You have the big problem is my country. Let's face it, the United States is what's causing this problem to persist. Without the U.S. changing its policy and forcing the hand of the Israelis to come to the table and make peace, it's not going to change. And it doesn't appear like anybody either wants to do that or will do that anytime soon. So we're going to have to just see what happens. The Israelis have the upper hand. They're acting with relative impunity. And I think they're going to continue to do so until either the U.S. steps up and says no more money, or some external interference comes into place, which could flare up into some really bad things.
The last thing, literally 10 seconds, they can't afford to hold them accountable. They need Israel as a military base, a buffer zone, and as a fast lane on the highway of exporting things out of Africa, out of Arabia, into the West. Out of the Africa and Arabia that they stabilized and thrust it into chaos intentionally, right? Where they took out
We got to tie it up. Listen, you made some great points. I got to tie it up though.
Love you,
Thanks for
brother. Got you.
Appreciate you so much. Thank you. You too. Yeah, it's not really good future picture. I mean, we have to figure out what's going to happen next, because obviously this thing could go in a really bad direction very quickly if government forces people out of the Gaza Strip. It's going to be. I don't think it's going to go unretaliated. So we'll see what happens. Goldie, we got to wait for the others to come in, please. Okay, Sergio, for the others to come in, please. Sergio, are you there?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chip. How are you?
Good, thanks. How about you?
Fine, thanks. I'm really glad on your live. I was introduced to you by Eric Warsaw live, and I'm really honored to be on your live. I just like to go and just spread some facts that I have read about this situation. I'm just an American. I'm an Italian, half Moroccan, and I was till October 9th. I was pro-Israel. And I was wondering why these people just keep, attacking, and they know they're gonna get wiped out by the supremacy of the Air Force, of the Israeli Air Force. So I start digging and researching and looking about the issue, and it's mind-boggling how none of us knew about this before. I mean, none of us knew, or most of us, let me take that back. Most of us didn't know about this before. Now, if you study the Zionism, okay, they started in 1800s. They had tried to settle in several homelands before Palestine. They went to Argentina, they went to the Congo, they went to area southern Russia called Azkari. I guess that's how they got the name Ashkenazi from. And even they tried to start that, and it didn't work for them. And then jackpot, they went to found out narrative in the Bible some kind of way by Theodore Herzl, and then he went to Palestine. The way how they did it is really mind-boggling. I mean, you see this video of Lord Rothschild. He say, my family created the state of Israel. And then you hear a very famous business Jewish American, his name Benjamin Friedman. Is all this on video? Please check whatever I said. I'm not BSing here. I'm telling you videos that I saw on YouTube. I mean, this guy said that he was with the Zionists, and when he found out that they want to get Palestine, he stopped and he said that Rothschild tried to convince the USA to get in World War I with the British, and that's how he made England issue him the Balfour Promise. I mean, this is astounding. So our grandfathers and ancestors died in World War I for this argument. It's mind-boggling. I mean, it's unbelievable. And then you go ahead, you see more videos. You see the prime minister, the famous prime minister of Israel, Olga Meir. She said that I was a Palestinian. She's saying this on the record. She said, I was a Palestinian. I had a Palestinian passport from 1921 to 1948. So I understand how you then go turn around and you claim that's your land. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense at all. Then we go along with some more videos. You see how ships of immigrant Jews came from Europe to Palestine, and you hear the narrator saying this is in 1945, 46, 47. The videos again on YouTube. He's saying Palestinian police and British police waiting in I think it was Jaffa port for all these ships. So I understand there was Palestinian police in 1947, 1946. So what's the argument of Israelis saying no, it was no Palestinian? If they had a police, they had a state, they had some kind of authority going on over there. Then we're moving along to. Did you know that Israel does not have a constitution? They do not have constitution. This is mind-boggling. And the argument saying that if Ben-Gurion in his long board speech, if you listen to it in 1948, he's saying that our constitution is the Zionists who will be coming to the state. So they're saying that he didn't want to put a constitution because the Western world will ask him to put, the very popular sentence or amendment in it that's saying everyone is equal in front of the law, which is that he didn't want because it was an ethno-state. Okay, we go moving along all the way to JFK. If you read the book Letters of JFK, that's by Martin Sandelberg, I think. It's a mad letters that he sent to Ben-Gurion, telling him to stop atomic experience in Dimona, which is in southern Israel. Israel. They're asking him. I'm sorry.
Yeah, his nuclear program. He was very much against Israel.
I mean, JFK was really mad. Yeah, it was unbelievable. And then he wanted to force IPAC, which had another name then, to register as a foreign agent. But they didn't want to. He gave them a week and they didn't do it. And then he asked his brother to start a legal action against them. And guess what? 6 months later, JFK is assassinated. I'm not pulling a theory here, a conspiracy theory, but you just make you scratch your head and make you scratch your head. If you read these letters, they were mad at each other. Ben-Gurion and JFK were mad at each other. That book, you should guys read it. It's on Amazon, Letters of JFK. It's unbelievable stuff. Moving along to, everybody know that Israelis hit the Liberty City, killed 34 of our brethren.
Sergio, just to let you know, one last point. I got to give some other people a chance.
Okay, my last point is, I had an Egyptian colleague in my job, and you know what he telling me? He telling me that most Arabs now, they boycotting our products in the Middle East. They boycotting sneakers, they boycotting Mars, they boycotting Lay's chips. So if we're gonna go with what President Biden say, we need them we need to be with Israel for our economical status, he disbelieved the point by that. I mean, we're losing 400 million Arabs business because of that. They looking for anything and boycotting our stuff in the Middle East. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Thanks for being here, Sergio. Good points. Yeah, great points about that book, Letters from JFK. It's interesting stuff, right? I mean, it all seems like a lot of it could be tied together pretty closely. I mean, I'm not saying it is because I don't know for sure, but you could make the argument, right? And a lot of people are making that argument. And there are people on TikTok. I don't know if you've ever seen, there's some guy, I don't know what his name is, but I always see him coming through my feed. He like has, I think it's called True News or something like that. But he's always talking about the connection and the control of Zionism in the U.S. system and a lot of other claims that are much more than I can say here on TikTok. But he gets away with it somehow, I guess. I don't know. Maybe his video's taken down. I did want to let people know who this is in the background. People were asking. This is an independent candidate for the U.S. Senate in the state of New York. She's running right now. Her name is Diane Sare, S-A-R-E. And the reason I have Diane's picture here is because I'm supporting her campaign. I rarely do this, by the way. And she's going to be a guest tomorrow night, a special guest on my 8 p.m. Eastern Time live, which is going to be great. You're going to enjoy Diane a lot. She's level-headed. She's really smart. She's very well informed. She's very pro-peace, very much in favor of a ceasefire here, obviously. And just all across the board, a good human being who will do right by the average person, won't make fake promises like all these other jokers do. She doesn't take corporate money. She definitely won't take money from AIPAC. So we need more people like this in our elected offices. Now, is one person getting in going to change the world? No, of course not. But it's one small step in the right direction of turning this big boat around that's in such the wrong direction. It's a bad situation. As Diane says, and you'll probably hear her say tomorrow night, she says, I'm really not sure if we're going to make it. And what she means by that is the prevalence of nuclear weapons is such that is our number one danger in the short term. And if things like this or others explode into a regional and then global conflict, there's a strong likelihood that something like that could indeed happen, which is horrible and unthinkable. That's why we have to push for peace. That's why Diane is pro-peace. Okay, enough about that. I do want to mention my link tree really quickly. For those of you who haven't seen it, there is a donation link for a good cause that I came across. Somebody contacted me for Women for Palestine. And they have a friend of theirs who owns a garment manufacturing business in Cairo, Egypt. And so her name is Nicole, and she's also on TikTok. But they asked me if I would put their GoFundMe link on my link tree, which I have. It's at the very top. If you want to check it out, the way you access that, if you go into my main page where all my videos are, and you look at my bio, just beneath where it says who I am and whatever, there's a link with a chain next to it. It says Linktree Chip Barnes. If you click on that, it'll launch. In fact, I can show you what it looks like. I'll show you both real quickly here, and then we'll get on to our next guest just a second. This is important that I think we promote decent charities. I vetted this one it took me 2 weeks to go through the steps to vet it. I didn't want to just do it and hope. I checked it out, made sure it was legit. So let me show you what this looks like. So here's my profile. So you can see right here, this is that link tree I was telling you about. There's the one with the link. Now, if you live outside the United States, and you come to this same page, people are telling me that this link is not here. This bold link is not here. So what you have to do then is, see, I typed it out here, and this is what you need to type into your browser, Linktree with a period like between the R and the E, /Chip Barnes. When you hit enter, you're going to see the following pop up, just like this. And there's the link to donate money to the nice women who are trying to help. What they're doing is they're making winter clothing and undergarments for people in Gaza who are suffering and they've lost all their belongings. So they're desperate for clean clothes and new clothing to keep them warm. So I made a sizable donation about a week ago. If you have the ability to help out, please do. Just to let you know what else is on my, and I'm sure Nicole and the other women will really appreciate it, as will the people of Gaza, of course. And their aid is getting in. I verified that too. So they're able to get it in with the trucks that go in. Okay, now the other links here are my TikTok backup. The reason why I put this here is because every time my account gets taken down, people tell me they can't find me. So if you follow my backup account, which is, by the way, in case you want to know, it's Truthseeker670. But this is a shortcut if you want to do that. Of course, that's my TikTok. I use this link tree on other places. That's why that's there. Then it has my Instagram, my Twitter, and a couple other things you'll see on there. Let me show you what the second page looks like. It looks like this. In the middle, there's some groups you can join. You can see one's called Palestine in Focus. Another one is a group chat that I just cover stuff in my life, basically. You don't have to join that. It's just personal stuff. Then you have a Telegram geopolitical group, which is great. It covers all the other conflicts, or most of them, that Sudan, what's happening in Ukraine, Yemen, all sorts of places, the Congos, things like that. And then you have some donation links for me. If you have enough to help the people of Gaza and you want to help me out too, somebody sent me a nice donation tonight. Different ways you can do that. I have a Patreon where you can donate monthly, a certain amount. I think it's $5, not a whole lot, but every little bit helps a person like me. And by the way, I was accused today of being paid by the, Palestinians or the H group or something. I wish I had a salary from them, but I don't. So this would help me survive and do this longer. I'm independent now. I'm not working, doing this full time. So we'll see. Maybe I have to go back to part-time if I can't get enough raised. So that's stuff there. Let me get back to our guests. I'll go back to the main screen here just for me real quick. There we go. You have to look at me only, not Diane. Okay, we have, let me see the name says. It says Machismo. Machismo's coming on. We have one more guest and we're finished tonight.
Hello, buddy. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Well, a few subjects I want to talk about, but very intriguing. Like the Zionists, they kind of see like they're very surprised. I find them delusional because they're kind of very surprised to see that everybody's like turning against them, and the way they're so surprised is very delusional. People seeing people digging out from dirt, pulling out baby parts for years, like crazy shit. And the thing is, what they don't seem to understand, and really is like no one really believes a word that they say. Nothing. After 9 out of 11, no one, like, listen, if you invite me to your house for 2 years, I'm always coming. Everything is getting robbed, but you don't think it's me. Then one day you see me you walk in and you see me leaving with the TV and your dog. After that, when you're gonna think about everything you got robbed. So, and if I am so cocky to pull a maneuver like that, that means I've been doing all sorts of shit like that. So basically, a lot of people have been calculating, fake flag operations. I listen to the both side of the stories, and let me get back to another one. So I figured out every TV station is saying that. So then, okay, this makes sense. Somebody bought out everything, and whenever music, theater, bullshit they want to play, they play it all over. That becomes the truth. So you question other things, like basically, there's a lot of big lies. There's a lot of big lies that people think that's real, but it's actually big lies. Like nuclear weapon. They don't really exist. It does not exist. Okay, if I can make you believe I could push a button right here and I'll blow up your whole country, is it good for me? Of course. Okay? So, but yeah, basically ground zero, where the place, I looked up, like, let's say Hiroshima and all that, they talk about it. Bro, no animals are getting sick, and ground zero, where the bomb blows, okay? Those countries were made out of, the houses were all made out of wood. It was very hard, complicated for them to beat them, because the Americans are having a hard time on the ground because they're too heavy, they don't move like.
Can you, Machismo, I'm having a really hard time piecing together the pieces of the puzzle you're putting down.
Okay.
Can you kind of try to tie it together into something?
Okay,
Please?
yes, sorry. Basically, what I'm trying to say is like anything that the Zionists, anything they put out, whatever they put out, like it's all everybody thinks it's lies. It's all staged. Like in America, when you hear shootings for in schools with kids, if you go deep, you'll find out they're staged. They're all about taking the guns away, is to take out the gun.
Hold on. Unfortunately, we can't go there, Machismo. So I can't corroborate what you're saying there, and that can be deemed to be what they call misinformation. I'm not saying it is, but TikTok looks at those kinds of conversations. They'll take down the video for making proclamation. You can say allegedly, you can say some have surmised that it might be, but you can't make a definitive claim like that without corroboration. It's going to be taken down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just disconnect this for right now. Maybe you can regroup and come back a different time with a little bit different angle based on that. And I'm sorry, I'm not trying to cut you off. I respect your point of view, but we have to protect the future of being online more so than representing one particular view. So thank you for being here. I appreciate your point of view. Okay, Goldie, you're the last guest tonight. How are you doing, ma'am?
I'm doing great, my friend. So happy to see you. I'm so happy I saw you on Joe's. You did so good. You
Oh,
did so
thanks.
good. So it was your first time on there, and so many people had been telling him, like in the comments, like they would love to have you on there with those people. So I'm so happy that I caught that. But
Okay.
I wanted to ask you, have you read this guy yet? I wanted to see your thoughts on it. The
Can
six.
you tell me?
Okay,
Let me make
so
you bigger. Let me
okay,
make you bigger. So we'll just do that. Okay.
this guy yet?
It's backwards. So it says, yeah, you're talking about the booklet that was put out by the
Yes,
yeah, 17 pages.
yes.
I read every bit of it.
Have
Yes,
you
it's
you
fantastic.
okay, so isn't it fantastic? Okay,
Yeah.
so I wanted to focus on because you have a lot of people in here tonight, and if anyone's on the fence, I kind of want to go into a subject that kind of struck out with me that I talk about often.
By the way,
If you go to article,
Goldie, real
yes,
quick, can you
yes, my
tell us
love.
where you got that? Can you tell us about that shirt you have on and
Okay,
where you got it?
oh, okay. So you guys, this weekend, I'm going to be opening up my Etsy shop exclusively. I don't have the link on it right now, but if you go and you follow me and if you DM me, I make these shirts. And these shirts go to the movement and they go to Gaza. So the only way that
Ah,
we're able, yeah, the only real way that we're able to gift anybody that's there is through the gifts through TikTok. So I give them a lot of gifts through here. It's also going to pay for some classes that Chip, I going to email you about. I want to get about 2 hours of your time. I have a group of people, and we just kind of want to pick your brain in Zoom. And
okay.
so I'm getting that together. So it'll pay for things like that too. So these things go to the movement to make the actionists and the activists better at what they do.
Okay.
There's a lot of people who are selling merchandise and they are not donating and they don't have any real link to the cause. Also, a lot of them are Zios. They're Zionists and they're getting your information when you buy merchandise from them. They get your address and they get your
Um,
information, and that's not safe. So it's a safe way to purchase merchandise, and I make
do
it
you
by
have
hand.
you have a name for your company or brand that we can relate to?
It's Golden Native Shop. So
Okay.
I will put, after I get off of here, I will put it at the link in the top of my on my account. I took it off because I just felt like boosting my shop because I make crystal jewelry. I thought
Okay.
it was inappropriate right now with what's going on, and I got thousands of followers, but they were there because I'm an activist, and they were there to learn about Gaza. They weren't
Okay.
there to, and I just felt not ethical doing that. So I'll put it back, and like I said, I make everything from by hand, and it goes to the movement. It goes every bit of it goes to the movement. So there's that. But I have one for you. I have a gift for you.
Okay.
Because I have a package for you that I want to give you. And again, I'll email you. I have a few people that we want to work with you, and just kind of pick your brain and kind of be the best that we can be at what we do.
Okay.
So if any and but okay, so I so happy you read this. Can we go over number 4?
Yeah.
Because can
Please
I
do.
read it? Can I read it?
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yep.
So anybody
Can you
in
just real quick?
the
Can you just explain to people what the document is and why it matters
yes,
first?
yes,
Tell them that.
yes. Okay. So this is the letter that the freedom fighters, the resistance has. You can screenshot it. You could go online and get it. I went ahead and I printed it out. It's very well written and very well articulated, and it's called Our Narrative, and it's the Operative Alaska Flood, and it's giving you exactly why they've done this with great talking points. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to focus on one talking point,
Can I just,
and
real
then
quick, Goldie, can I just tell them one thing?
absolutely,
So for those
yes,
of you who want,
absolutely.
the way I found the document was I went to a Google browser or whichever search engine you want to choose. And in the search box, I typed in the H group, but I spelled it properly. And I typed in what's the word again?
It is Our Narrative
Our narrative. Yeah.
Operation. If you want to take a screenshot, you guys feel free to. Also, at about at 10 o'clock Western time, we're going to start a live and we're going to go over it. So you can join us or you can just listen here. But it's really good because it's broken things down into very good talking points, very easy to digest. And one in
Yeah.
particular I wanted to go over with you guys today, and it's number 4, and I'm going to read it out loud to you. And it's the Israeli violations and brutality were documented by many UN organizations and international human rights groups, including Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch, and even documented by Israel human rights groups. However, these reports and testimonies were ignored, and the Israeli occupation is yet to be held accountable. For example, on October 29th, 2021, Israel's ambassador and the UN Gilad Erdan insulted the United Nations by tearing up a report for the UN Human Rights Council during an address at the General Assembly. And he threw it in a dustbin, a garbage, before leaving the podium. Yet he was still appointed in the following year, 2022, to the post of Vice President of the United Nations Assembly. So this points out to me because I want to make it clear to you that Israel, one of their talking points is that the UN is biased. And they say that. So the UN is biased. However, the UN, the vice president in the UN in General Assembly committed that act. So this is something that I think that a lot of people really need to, like, if we sat down and we digested this and we communicated about it, then you could really see some of the different talking, just get a broader perspective on the situation. And it's number 4, and there's 16 more to go. I don't have to read all of them. Chip, if you want to dive into one that stuck out with you, I'm more than happy to. But I like to point this out to people since I've read it, that how can it be biased if this is if these are the people that you hire into that? So this person speaks, he sits in a pretty high stature in the UN, correct, Chip? What do you think about that?
Well, what I want to know is when you read it, what was your takeaway? What was your first impression as you finished reading it?
I felt like, okay, wait, hold on. Like, they are not listening. Okay, so the inhumane acts, the war crimes, the things that are happening in Gaza, in Palestine, they're different groups, even that of their own, are coming forth and saying, hey, this isn't right. We need to pay attention to this. So instead of paying attention to it, no one's being held accountable for them. And not only are they not being held accountable for it, it's getting torn up in the very space that's supposed to offer us peace and hear us out. And then we go ahead and we hire that person into a seat that can make that's a pretty high seat in the lawmaker. So I feel like it's not really giving the Palestinians a very safe space or a voice. It's actually diluting them. And to say that they are biased is just, I think now that there's accountability being held upon them, now they're saying that they're biased. And so for me, I just felt like, okay, well, when you place a group of people in a position that they are in these living conditions, and they are like, they're on a caloric diet, their electricity, I'm sure these things are things you should already know. If you don't, I'll go over them briefly. Electricity, food, water, they can't even have wedding dresses, they can't have cilantro, pasta, chocolate.
No chocolate.
And
no chocolate.
no
Man.
no chocolate, buddy. And so what they do is they look at a basic diet of somebody, and then they cut it in half, and then that's what they allow into Gaza. Everything is monitored. So and they're treated very hostilely, and that's putting it nicely. So when you put people in this position, it's like a battered child. A child comes out of an unhappy household. It comes out of what's going to happen? How is that child's life going to be? The resistance is 80% orphans. And I want people to recognize too, the children that were pulling out of the rubble, the children that we're saving, the children that are watching their parents unalived and stuck under those children are the resistance fighters of 20 years ago. I'm hoping that it's going to give people a broader perspective, and I hope that we're going to see it in the voting poll, because I'm really interested in Diane. I'm really interested in your friend. I want to sit in with her tomorrow, and I've done a little bit of looking into her, but I think that she's a perfect candidate for what we're doing. And I think that if we can start breaking these talking points down and kind of break it down to the American people, especially those who are on the fence, that someone like Diana can pull us into something, or pull us in a direction that's going to be best. Chip, I do.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Now, I do want to promote what you're working on. So how does the money work? How much are shirts? What is the time to get one ordered? Are they backlogged? And then what happens with the money?
Send it. Okay, so it takes about $25 to make this shirt, right? So I figure they're gonna, depending on how, so I sell it to the cheapest I can make it. So some of them have a full, here, I'm gonna grab a few products. I'm gonna grab, give me 2 minutes. I know your time is limited. I didn't know I was gonna pull product, but I will show you.
No, that's okay. I
So
understand. That's okay.
I'm gonna take
Take your time.
advantage of even,
Oh,
okay, even
yeah.
though I'm over here, I'm gonna sell them as close to cost as possible. And so
Okay.
I will, and I'm gonna do a breakdown of where the money goes to. Not that I have to, but because I want to. I want to encourage people to look for this when they're purchasing things from businesses, because we're getting a lot of scammers. Here's a
Sure.
few things. Here's a few things. So I got a lot of compliments on a hat that I made. So I'm making hats. I have hats and it says like Viva Palestina. The hat was
Ah,
$20. The hat was $20 and the things costed me $5. So I would sell it for like 35. Half goes to the
wow.
half would go to like proceeds, and then half would go to like being able to educate and hire people like you to have to, because we need to have a lot of education and we need a little bit more molding. So something like this, I have these. So I sell it at cost, and then
Yeah.
I just charge. I break down how much the vinyl
Can you
costs.
can you
I
tell us
don't.
what it says? Can you tell us what it says?
Oh
Because it's
yes.
backwards.
Okay. Okay. So it says in the millions, in the billions, we are all Palestinians.
Okay.
Okay. And then this one says Viva Palestina.
Right.
And then this one is just the kafaya with our triangle, our infamous
Yeah, I
triangle.
love the triangle.
And then I love a triangle. And then I have some side bags, and these ones are kind of like a little bit more casual.
Okay.
They have the, and then I have some, this one, see, I'm freshly working on this guy. A plain one, I haven't ripped off this yet. So I have that,
Got
very,
it.
very plain. And then this one just says, even in the distant, or this one says, in the millions, in the billions, we are all Palestinians. But I do have one that says, even in the distance, we stand with the resistance. So it's just
Ah,
showing solidarity. Yeah, it just shows. So that's kind of like my tag name. So for this shirt, it only takes like $15 to make this shirt, $12 to buy this shirt itself, and then a few dollars each for these for the actual acrylic, and then I iron it on, and then I sell it. So I will, because I know people want to know where the money goes. So when they buy it, I'm going to tell them each piece, like how much, how, just to be transparent, where the money is going to go for that particular piece, like what project. So do they want it to go to the people of Gaza, or do they mind if it goes to furthering the movement, furthering our activism? And they can choose, just so they feel involved. You know what I mean?
that's
So
great. Yeah, that's
I'm
great.
I'm just treating it like I would what I would look for in a business. And so I just found that a lot of people are making a lot of money, and it's off of it's off of the Palestinian plight, and they're
Right.
not, and I don't want to be judgmental. Hey, to each your own. You know what I mean? To each your own. But the funds will go to keeping the business going, being able to make this, to make product to sell, and then but the majority of our funds are going to go to Gaza. It's going to go to, yeah, exactly, sister. Someone said exploiting. They exploit it, babe. That's exactly
Yeah.
what they do. So I don't want to. I will be transparent because I want to model for people what I think we should be doing in this particular subject matter. I think that it needs to be just model. I think it needs to be handled with respect and dignity.
Okay.
And so, yeah, so that's what I'm going to do. So if you want to know where your money is specifically going, and if you want to choose where it goes, then you choose where it goes, and you'll know
Yeah.
exactly where your revenue is going to go.
No, it makes sense. Okay, so if anybody wanted to purchase one or more of the items that you just displayed, what steps would they go through to find you and then go through with that? What
Okay,
do they need to
so
do?
this Friday I will be everything is going to be added and on the Etsy. So if tonight specifically, if you've seen something that you liked here, just to honor you for being here, I will save that piece for you, and when I list it, I will have it. If you DM me, I will have it for you. I'll save it on the Etsy under a reservation. I'll reserve it for you.
All right, cool. Okay, so when you
Yeah.
say on Etsy, for people that haven't been to Etsy before, Etsy is a big place for resellers of crafts and other types of things like clothing here. So, and you make the jewelry, you said, so
Yeah.
that's
Oh,
why you're on
yes.
there. So
Yeah,
for
I
Etsy,
do make. I
for
make
people that have
crystal jewelry.
never been on Etsy, or so what do they need to do to find you? They go to Etsy.com, and then there's another, they have to put in
Oh,
something.
I'm gonna have the. I'm right after this conversation. I'm putting the link directly in my. I could probably even do it right now. I
All
will.
right,
So
so real
my
quick, so
shop.
everybody, make sure
Mhm.
you press Goldie's name and make sure you follow Goldie, and then you can go to her bio when she updates it with the information, and then you can go to her store at Etsy. Okay,
Thank you,
that's what you
brother.
got
I
to do.
appreciate you. And I'm gonna have it. I'm gonna put it right now in the link. That way, everyone can get to it. But it is. I just want to honor. I want to honor our people, Chip. I want to honor our people, and I want them
Yeah.
to get
Now,
help.
can I make a suggestion to you, just as a business
Absolutely,
person?
absolutely.
Add to your inventory just basic keffiyehs and two different sizes of Palestinian flags for people to get. Just those two items.
You got it.
You'll sell a lot of those, I
You
promise
got
you. You'll
it.
sell a lot of those.
You got it. Those are done. I'll add them now. I'll add them for
Okay.
sure. For sure.
Terrific.
Alrighty.
Thanks for being here. I really
I
appreciate it.
appreciate you.
Much love
I
and,
love you
and
so much.
good
I
luck.
love you so
If
much.
I can
You're
help you in
so.
any way, let me know. I'm happy to help.
I will. I will absolutely. And then I'll let people know when we're gonna get. We're gonna do a Zoom call, and we're gonna have a chunk of time with him, so we can have a more intimate setting where you can have your questions set
Great.
and be able to dissect stuff. I appreciate you, Chip. I love you, and thank you for all that you do. We're lucky to have you in our corner, buddy. We really
Thanks so
are.
much. Nice to see you. Take care,
Gratitude.
Goldie.
Gratitude. Nice to meet you.
Okay, everybody, that was great, right? And it's always interesting. You meet people who are doing great things like Goldie. I mentioned the other group of women that are, by the way, it seems to be all women, right? This is pretty interesting that are doing all this work to help the people. So awesome. Good to them. Tip of the cap. And, anytime we can support a local small business person, regardless, we want to do that, but especially if they're going to do things to help others, which is awesome, right? That's what we need more of that in our whole lives at the community level. That would change everything, right? Get rid of these big corporations, these shareholders, these idiots in private jets and yachts, and to them. That right. Okay, last guest is going to be the voice. He waited very patiently, and we'll be closing up shop when he's finished.
Hey, Chip, how are you?
Good, thank you.
All right. So, as I was listening tonight, first of all, amazing as always loving making a connection here, at least coming in and listening. But one of the connected tissues to a lot of the contributors and even parts of your conversation tonight is this realization that Israel is not going to admit blame, doesn't care what the UN has to say, ICJ doesn't matter. How many states bring charges against them? Their declaration from just a couple of days ago, written in Hebrew and then translated, and I think you might even know this, but it was translated. The state declaration from Israel was: monkeys are bringing charges against us using rules used to made to protect us. Is the
Wow.
declaration written in Hebrew and released to the AP?
Wow.
So that is their attitude, and as you have already stated, in the current state of things, their big stick is the United States, which you and I have already spoken about, how essentially we're yet again a manifestation and the proliferation and the ever long growth of 1,000 years worth of expansion globally from a Western Anglo, right? Regardless of which way we want to repackage it, whether it starts with the British and then repackage it with British, French, and German, and then repackage it with, oh, we found the United States, let's repackage it that particular way, and now we have the ability to insert ourselves where we need to be. Given that that's the state, where they're not going to be blamed for anything, as you and I are speaking, as everyone that's come on tonight, there's 2 more dead children in the last hour, there's many more dead families. This will continue, and oh, by the way, we're paying for it. We are the credit card, the ongoing bill. We're the labor and the credit card. Given that that's the state, is there? I mean, I'm really looking forward to hearing the candidate you'll be introducing tomorrow night and hearing more voices like them to come on to see how much they represent the ideals that we're looking forward to as far as equity and humanity is concerned. But
Yeah.
in the turnaround period, how many more lives are going to be lost, bro? And do you think the general public, even as awakened and aware as they are and learning daily from people like you and more, are do you think the psychology of the general public, even just in the Americas, is awakened to the fact that their votes really are not going to resolve any of this anytime in the next, I dare say, to be very realistic, anytime in the next 5 years?
Yeah, well, I've talked about this ad nauseum, and the fact that the system that's been created has been corrupted, I think, irreparably. And you're not going to fix the system using the same tools that it's using to keep itself going. Listen, I wish it were different, but if we could vote our way out of this, we would have done it a long time ago. There's just no. And so I called a guy who I follow. His name is Tim. He goes by the Handsome Liberal. He has like a little talk show on here on TikTok that I called into, and I shared that with the audience, and he thought I was in outer space, is what he said to me. He's like, let's bring you back down to earth. You're in outer space. I really don't believe anything other than a mass civil, nonviolent, disobedience-based movement is going to do the job. It's going to have to be at large scale. And people think that's crazy, but I'd like to have it be all nonviolent. Usually the first set of violence comes from the repression or the response to the movement. But the hard part is getting people out of their lane, right? People are stuck in their lane. They're worried. They have their own security issues, their family. And I get that. Those are legitimate concerns. But going to the vote, we've been conditioned to go to the polls, and it's a left-right thing, right? Oh, it's the Democrats. It's not the left-right. It's the people at the top that are exploiting both sides to their benefit while the kids fight. That's the problem.
Yeah, my even bigger worry is that from a general public standpoint, I made a statement of like most Americans are just trying to get to their beer, barbecue, and football. They're 2 weeks a year if they're lucky. And under $10,000 worth of credit card debt if they're really, really lucky. Right. So if that's the life that they've been conditioned to get into the loop of, it's hard to get a mass, even if you get a mass of 1 million people to do a march versus a population of 330 million, most of whom are just trying to get to their weekend. It's hard to get them to start thinking about, oh, let me suffer some sort of discomfort in my everyday life or the everyday life of my children to save a life somewhere halfway around the world. So while it's disheartening, I'm hoping to hear voices, who are stepping up to potentially win our vote for representation, because we do have to make the change. Hopefully, provided that we still believe that our votes actually count. There'll be some proof of that. We have enough of a mass movement, I think, that if we do get some independence, hopefully like the individual you'll be introducing us to tomorrow, if that happens, that's going to be brilliant, because we'll have some effect, but we'll get to see if they can get across the finish line or not, or if the system is even capable of foiling that, even if 90% of the population wants it.
Yeah, that's the crazy part. Hey, thanks for bringing those points
so
up.
much,
I really
man.
appreciate it. Thanks for your patience, by the way. I know it took a while to get to you. So
As always. Thank you.
Have a nice night. Thank you very much. Yeah, listen, it's an uphill climb. I think that we have a lot of things that are headwinds. Let's put it nicely. The end stages of empire, late stage capitalism, total corruption in the government, money being spent abroad that needs to be spent at home, infrastructure wearing down, crime, homelessness, drug abuse. It's a lot of stuff. Now, I'm not trying to be Debbie Downer. There's lots of beauty in the world, and each everyday moment is a chance to do something nice for others or to put good energy in the world, right? So that we have that. But for more and more people, they're slipping further and further away from the life they used to enjoy, and it's getting more difficult. And I think that's everybody, right? Unless you're super rich. Thanks, Chuck Berry. So, yeah, I mean, I wish it were better, and I think it could be better, but it's going to take some extraordinary things to be done to make it better. And like you said, I'm not sure how many people can even stomach the idea of that, because they're just trying to get by. And no blame being cast at them for that. It's tough just to get by, right? So, we'll see what happens. But anyway, so I wanted to let everybody know that tomorrow night, just in case anybody came on late, that a candidate, an independent candidate named Diane Sayre, is running for the Senate seat in New York State. And she's somebody who I've known through different peace rallies, and I saw her at the March for Gaza, so I went up and said hey. And I've invited her to come on tomorrow. We've spoken a little bit. She's a good person. I believe she's got all the things in all the right directions. Her heart's in the right place. She's very smart, very articulate, understands the big picture, is very, very, she's knowledgeable, right? She's informed. A lot of people are smart, but they're not well informed. She's smart and well informed. She won't take AIPAC money. She won't take corporate money, which is tough. Let's face it, you have to have some money to do the basics of running a campaign. And usually the candidate who spends the most wins, which is the sad part. But we need to support people that are independent. At some point, we got to do something, right? That's what we can do right now, given the things we have, while we try to build whatever the alternate could be. With that in mind, by the way, and this is, by the way, tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, my normal live schedule, which happens to be Monday, my normal schedule, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, from 8 p.m. Eastern Time until 10 p.m. We ran a little over tonight. And then actually tonight was an impromptu because tonight's Tuesday, and then it's tomorrow Wednesday. So it's Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 to 10. This was a different time. I just did it out of the hand because they were live. It was terrible. And then Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday from 12 noon to 2 p.m. Eastern Time. I had a lot of people in the Middle East that were contacting me and saying, "Hey, I love your lives, but your live's coming on at 4 in the morning where I live." I'm like, "Oh, sorry." So I switched it for the other part of the world. That's it. So anyway, that's the schedule. I have a link tree in my bio. If you kind of like my style, you want to check out more of my stuff. All of these videos are saved. These live sessions are recorded. So if you came in late, you want to go check it out. You can find them. I upload them to my YouTube channel and my Rumble channel, both of which are listed. You can find them in that link tree. And that's a link in my bio that says Linktree Chip Barnes. Click on it. You'll see a list pop up. It's self-explanatory. Just go down, you'll connect through. So follow me on my Twitter. I have a great Twitter feed that a lot of good stuff I put there I can't put here. You know, there's certain things you just can't do on TikTok, let's be straight, okay? But places like Twitter and like Rumble, which is a very similar thing to YouTube, it's just a different company, and it has less meddling from the company, which is a good thing. So a lot of content creators are moving to strictly just Twitter and Rumble because they get the least amount of pushback. So we'll see where that all goes. And then finally, there's some moderators. I think it was Lipri that's been on here helping out tonight. Thank you so much for your help because, geez, without moderators, it makes it hard for somebody like me to do what I do. So thank you so much. And just so you know, I was on another live tonight in case you didn't see it. And it was a very pro-Israel panel, which I'm fine to do. And it started out okay, which I was shocked because usually they're pretty bad. But then it just went 180 bad. They were name calling and telling me I was this, that. I was an agent of the paid by the Palestinians. It was one insult after another about my military service. How could I possibly know anything? All these things, and then just disparaging me. Which, I stayed for a lot of it, but it got to a point where I just had to pull the plug. So I tried to say thank you, but even that was being talked over. So unfortunately, I did a video about this. Unfortunately, the way that most of the pro-Zionists are on these lives is it's like a feeding frenzy of piranha when somebody comes in who's pro-Palestine or even trying to be just objective about the damn thing. Anyway, is what it is. So that's it for tonight. If I didn't get to you as far as a guest, or if I didn't get to your questions, I wasn't ignoring you. There have been some people that have signed up to follow me here. Thank you so much. Just to let you know, in that same link tree, there are donation links. TikTok, if you don't know, anything you donate through TikTok keeps 70%, which is pretty high. So if you ever do want to donate to my cause, which I genuinely appreciate, I have a Patreon that's $5 a month, not that much. I'm adding some tiers that'll have some other stuff I think you'll like. Let's comment this week. And then if you want to, there's other links like Cash App and Venmo and that kind of stuff. So if you want to donate, great. I appreciate it. And for those of you who did donate with the different flowers and stuff in TikTok tonight, thank you for doing that. So I appreciate everybody being here. We're kind of down to the last loyal follower. I'll see you all tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Diane Sayre. Don't miss it, okay?